I hereby declare the Kandui County Board of Commissioners is now in session. Let us all please stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm going to take this off as I talk. It's a little bit easier. I'd like to welcome everybody this morning. I also like to welcome those people who may be live streaming our meeting as well as watching this later on YouTube. I want to thank you for your interest in Kandui County government. This is January 4th, 2022 already, and this is our reorganizational meeting. The very first item on our agenda is the election for the chair for Kandui County Board for 2022. At this point, I'll open to the floor nominations for chair of Kandui County Board for 2022. Are there any nominations?
Mr. Chair, I would nominate yourself, Corky Berg, for board chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Gardner nominates Commissioner Berg. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
A second by Commissioner Anderson. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? I declare the nominations are closed. At this point, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Commissioners, for this opportunity. Very much appreciated. Now I'd like to open the floor for nominations for vice chair. Are there any nominations? Are there any nominations for vice chair?
Mr. Chair, I'll nominate Commissioner Edc for vice chair.
A nomination by Commissioner Gardner for Commissioner Edc for vice chair, and the current board chair, Commissioner Berg, will second that nomination. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? One more time, I was supposed to say it. Are there any other nominations? If not, I'll close the floor to nominations, and I will call for the vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Passed unanimously.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Congratulations, and thank you again for serving. Appreciate you serving last year very much. At this point on the agenda, if you look at the agenda, the time frames, we're going to look at doing, first we have to do our bills. We always have to do our bills first. I always forget that. You all received copies of the electronic bills to be approved and paid. Are there any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move that we accept the bills.
A motion by Commissioner Anderson to approve the bills.
I'll second.
And a second by Commissioner Nissen. Any further discussion, comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously. You also received copies of the minutes.
I'll move the minutes.
And a motion by Commissioner Nissen to move the minutes, and a
second
second by Commissioner Gardner. Any corrections or additions or comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously. Now we will jump down to approval of the bids for the official newspaper. And I would like to call on Kandui County Auditor Treasurer Mark Thompson to give us a update. We opened the bids last time, and any review, brief review of what you presented then.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, we opened the bids last time at the last board meeting. We received two bids, one from Lakes Area Review and one from the West Central Tribune. I see that we have Steve Ammerman in the audience here representing the West Central Tribune. The bids were included in your board packet, so I think you had a chance to look those over. And if there's anything if you have any questions for me, by all means, I'll try to answer them the best I can. Otherwise, I think it's pretty straightforward. And again, we need to choose the official newspaper, and then we also have to have a second newspaper chosen today. So,
Okay.
You want Steve or anything?
Okay. Mr. Ammerman, would you like to speak?
Well, good morning, everybody. Happy New Year.
Good morning.
Well, good morning.
Yes,
And thank you for being here. Before you start, I just want to say thank you for doing business in Kandui County. And also, I'd like to thank Mr. Ullman. And he is not here at this moment anyway. And thank you both for doing business in Kandui County. We value newspapers, and we're very lucky to have two newspapers. So thank you.
Absolutely.
And please
absolutely.
proceed.
Yeah, just on our bid, the rate stayed the same as last year. We decided to hold the rate. We also include the WOMA reminder at no charge to the county. So when you combine what we publish in the Tribune, the WOMA reminder, and on our website, there's almost 100% saturation of county residents receiving the county legal. So the exposure of the county to the residents is really, really good. So we've seen a small decline in print this last year, but really rapid growth in our e-edition, our electronic edition newspaper. It's grown by almost 20%. So really seeing that growth in our e-edition.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'll entertain any questions if you have them. All right. Thank you.
Any questions from anybody? Hearing none? Well, thank you very much. At this point, we'll open up for discussion. Commissioner Emdek.
Discussion or motions?
And/or motion.
Okay. I would move that we name the Lakes Area Review as the primary newspaper with the West Central Tribune as the secondary news, or is that two separate motions, Mark?
No, there's a resolution
On resolution
22-1. Is that what you're making a motion on?
Do the resolution first.
Where is that?
Okay, I'll move on the resolution then.
Resolution
Okay,
number for the record
okay,
is
wait.
20-1.
1-1, the very first one. Okay, we have a motion to approve Area Lakes review. Is there a second to that motion? Is there a second to that motion? And one more time, is there a second to that motion? The motion fails for lack of a second. At this point, I'll also entertain a
I
motion.
will make a motion that we have the West Central Tribune as our primary newspaper.
A motion by,
Resolution number 2022-1.
okay, thank you. And do we have a second for them?
I'll second.
A second by Commissioner Gardner. Any comments or discussion? Commissioner Emdek.
Yeah, I think, both papers do a good job of covering county business. And I can't fault anybody for that, but I'm concerned that we aren't recognizing the difference in the cost between these two publications. Nearly $13,000 or over $13,000 difference had we done Lakes Area Review last year versus the West Central Tribune, according to the auditor's office. The print circulation is nearly identical. Almost, you can't hardly argue it. And the argument for having 100% coverage because of the online presence is moot, because the law doesn't allow online as your way to get your information. And if it did, we'd have 100% coverage because they can get that same information from our county, Kandui County website. Stearns County has used county of 175,000 people in the daily newspaper, the West Central Tribune. They've used the Cold Spring Record for many, many years as their official newspaper. It does not have to be a daily, and West Central Tribune is, they're almost a daily, but, we only get 2 prints anymore a week. And so I think it's time that we alternate this opportunity between the 2 newspapers that continue to put a bid in, and that we try it a year. If it doesn't work, we can always go back. But so we have a locally owned newspaper that never gets the opportunity.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Emdek. Any other comments or discussion at this point? Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I very much appreciate Commissioner Emdek's thoughts on this. My issue is primarily is one of coverage. We're looking at a bid from the Lakes Area Review where there essentially is no coverage in the entire southern half of the county. And at least there's an attempt to make sure that people can get that information. There's a reason that it's free to be able to do that, because as Commissioner Emdek points out, it's not a legal requirement, for lack of a better word, to have the legals online. But still, it's information, and I think, owe it to all of the citizens of the entire county to be able to have that information out in as widely distributed a manner as possible. And that's why I'll be supporting the Tribune's bid.
Okay. Any other questions, comments from anybody? Commissioner Emdack.
For $13,000+ a year savings, for those people, if there's a handful of them that don't want to go on to our online site and look at it at our county website, we could cover a lot of mailings of the legal notices for $13,400 some dollars.
Who's we
County.
would be?
I concur
Commissioner
with
Mesa.
Commissioner Gardner's statement pretty much wholeheartedly. I think we get better coverage, and yes, it costs a little more, but we are reaching more people, and internet access is important. True, they can come to the county website, but most people look for their information in the newspaper, and so that I would concur again with Commissioner Gardner, and I understand Commissioner Imdick's arguments are well taken, but sometimes you pay a little more, you get a little more, and that's what I feel is happening here.
Any other questions, comments from anyone? One more time, any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. We have a motion on the floor to award Resolution 22-1 to the West Central Tribune. And I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
My understanding and what I heard was 4 votes in favor and 1 nay. Okay. And I want to congratulate you, and I appreciate as well that we had 2 newspapers bidding on this, so thank you. At this point, I'd also address a resolution to appoint our secondary newspaper.
Mr. Chair, I would move to appoint the Lakes Area Review as the secondary legal newspaper.
Okay, Commissioner Gardner moves to appoint the Area Lakes Review as a secondary newspaper. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
A second by Commissioner Anderson. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion? I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Passed unanimously. All right, well, thank you very much, everyone, and thank you for coming and sharing some information. And we'll move on to our official reorganizational meeting.
Okay.
You all received and have copies of the lists of our committees, and we also have a spreadsheet that Commissioner Gardner shared with everyone as an option. Commissioner Gardner, would you wish to kind of walk us through this quickly before we proceed?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is just something that I've used last year and this year for my own purposes, and I thought it might be helpful to share it with the board. It's essentially listing the some 75 committees that we are dividing up between us. The list shows who is currently assigned, where we know that, and then the approximate time and day of the week that it meets, and then there's a grid that shows the different dates, because of course some of these meet once a year, some meet 3 or 4 times a year, others are monthly meetings, and then there are actually some that have subcommittees that could mean 24 meetings a year, for example, just by serving on one committee. So I provide that today just as a guide. If it helps, great. If not, we'll just continue to refine it, and I'll hopefully bring back version 3.0 next year.
Okay. Well, thank you, Commissioner Gardner. I tried to do something like this myself, and I did not get as far as you did. It is hard to keep track of all these committees that, we have approximately 70 committees that we serve on, and that is a lot of committees. So thank you for giving us this information and trying to organize, and there's one more thing to look at, as well as our calendars as we go through this. Just for housekeeping purposes, because of the agenda and the time frame, we do have Senator Lang and Representative Baker coming, and when one of those individuals shows up, if we are not done with our reorganization meetings here for committees, I would recess then, if there's no objection from the board, and we will proceed with them presenting. And we could probably put this at the end of the agenda and finish it up. We should be close to be done, and I'm hoping we will be. And
We'll get you through.
We'll get you through.
I'll get you through.
Okay. Now, the first list I'll have, we're all on the same page, that we will probably have to take, and we've done in the past, taken these individually because there's additional appointments or reappointments that we need to mention names on. So when you make a motion, please include those appointments as we go through them. And so we'll start out with Glacier Lake Sanitary Sewer and Water District. And right now, Commissioner Edc is the primary commissioner on there. And we have an appointment for Greg Quam. Okay. Okay.
Sorry. Mr.
No,
Chair.
no, try and jump down if you want to take a second.
My version that I had is a little old, so I want to get the most current one.
That easily happens. Yes.
If the question is, do I want to continue to serve on that?
Yes.
Yes, I would.
And you recommend appointing Mr. Quam as the alternate?
Those recommendations come from the Board of Commissioners.
Oh, so we don't approve those
Did we
here?
approve that one, Mel, at the
Yeah,
last
yeah,
meeting?
we did at the last meeting, and we decided to do the official appointment at the reorg here.
Okay.
So I think we would need to take that action according to the bylaws of the Green Lake Commission.
And the Board of Commissioners, so if that's my recommendation, I'll make that.
Okay, all right, and is that a motion, or I would have a motion to accept that appointment or reappointment to the committee for Mr. Commissioner Edc to represent us, as well as Greg Quams.
Let's so move.
A motion by Commissioner Gardner, a second,
I'll second
and a second by Commissioner Nissen. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign, passed unanimously. All right, we can flip a page right away here, can't we? Terrific. Planning Commission.
Yes.
And currently, we have Commissioner Edc on that and Commissioner Gardner as the alternate, but we also need some reappointments.
Yes, and
Commissioner
I
Nissen.
have, since Mr. Hauge was from my district, I was tasked with finding a replacement because he has reached the end of his terms. Three-year terms, I believe, is the limit. And I, after some calling around, I called Mr. Hauge and asked for his opinion, and he asked a few people, and he mentioned I should talk to his cousin, which I finally got to. But anyway, to make a long story short, I found Bonnie Watson, a capable replacement, and background on her, she's a Lake Andrewtown clerk, but they live on Norway Lake, I believe. She's a former attorney, and I think she'll fit in real well. Her husband is a former real estate agent, so I think, again, there's going to be some real good back and forth between the two there, and get two for the price of one, maybe. So Bonnie Watson would be my appointment to
Thank you.
to the
Thank you.
Planning Commission.
And Commissioner Edc, would you be willing to serve again?
Yes.
Okay. I entertain a motion to,
And get Commissioner Gardner as an alternate?
and Commissioner Gardner is an alternate, yes.
Yes.
Sorry. Yes.
That's fine.
I will make that
A
motion.
motion by Commissioner Nissen to,
I'll second that.
and a second by Commissioner Anderson to appoint Bonnie Watson to the Planning Commission, as well as Commissioner Edc, and alternate as Commissioner Gardner. No further discussion, I understand, or I see. I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passed unanimously. Thank you. Okay, the next one is Supporting Hands Nurse Family Partnership Joint Powers Board. And right now, Commissioner Gardner is the board appointee, and the alternate is Raleigh Nissen. And I don't think we have any other person to appoint at this.
Mr. Chair, I'd move that we keep those two appointments the same.
I'll second that.
A motion by Commissioner Gardner to keep those two appointments, a second by Commissioner Edc. Any questions or comments or discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Passed unanimously. Thank you. And the next one underneath that is the Southern Prairie Community Care Joint Powers. And I am the individual who is on that, and Raleigh, Commissioner Nissen is the alternate. We're in the process, as everybody knows, we're trying to shut this down. There's one meeting a year, according to the bylaws. We're basically waiting to see what happens with the procurement with Prime West before we actually close this down. And the annual board meeting is on April 25th of this year. If we do end up closing it down, there will probably be maybe 2 or 3 more meetings possible connected with this. I would be more than willing to stay on this committee at this point. And also, I'd like to point out that Jenny Lippert, Director of Health and Human Services, attends these as part of this as well. And I received copies of statements of bills and what's taking place, and I share copies with her and with Mr. Kleindahl as well. So any...
Mr. Chair, I move on Southern Prairie Community Care.
Thank you. Commissioner Emdek moves to approve the current individuals on the Southern Prairie Community Care Board. Is there a second?
I'll second.
A second by Commissioner Nissen. No further discussion. At this point, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Passed unanimously. We're on page 3. All right, a little bit, few more here or there. Renville County, Kandui County Community Health Board. The current commissioner on that board is Roger Endek, and the chair is Commissioner Steve Gardner.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I would also like to point out that we have a new appointment for the Community Health Board. Cheryl Johnson would be a member as large on that, and I would move her appointment as well as the reappointment of Commissioner Imdeck and myself to this committee.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? I'll then call for the vote for all in favor of the new appointment as well as the 2 current commissioners on that board. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Passed unanimously.
Mr. Chair, the next one, that committee was dissolved. The committee found out that it was redundant, and so that committee took action to dissolve that committee. So the next one is no longer, the Kandui County Renville Community Health Board Advisory Committee is no longer.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for pointing that out. Now we can flip to page 4. The Kandui County Board of Adjustment, and we need some appointments there.
Mr. Chair,
Please proceed.
again, John Hoagie was on that board as well, and with consultation with Aaron Van Dyken, suggested very reasonably strongly, since they meet the same evening within a half hour of each other, that I appoint Bonnie Watson to fill that committee appointment as well.
Okay. So we need a motion to appoint, basically, the only change here would be a new appointment then, and it'd be Bonnie Watson to that committee.
We have to reappoint Doug Dietz as well.
And reappoint
Yeah.
Doug.
So I'll make
Okay.
that motion.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Nissen to make those new appointments to the
I'll
Board of
second.
Adjustment, a second by Commissioner Anderson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign, passed unanimously. The next is the Kandui County Extension Committee, and we have a couple of reappointments on there, Mr. Dale Anderson and Ann Polta, and Mr. Tom Odens. And Tom Modens is also a voting member, and I am on that committee this past year, as well as Commissioner Anderson. I'd be happy to serve again. Commissioner Anderson would,
Yeah, I'd be happy to serve on that.
Move on the extension, Mr. Chair.
okay, a motion to move on the extension?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gardner. Hearing no further discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously. The HRA, the Housing Redevelopment for Kandui County, we will need a reappointment for Val Indeslo.
Javier Valenzuela.
Thank you. I apologize to them for not pronouncing their names very well. And Commissioner Steve Gardner also serves representing Kandui County Board.
I would move on the HRA.
And
I will
you agree to serve again?
Yes.
And a second by Commissioner Nissen. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Passed unanimously. Okay, Woodland Centers. Commissioner Raleigh Nissen is the current person on that board.
Changes. Yep.
And, pardon me?
There's no changes there.
And there's no changes there at all. And Jenny Lippert is there. Are you willing to serve again?
I am.
Okay, any further discussion? Anybody interested? If not, I will call for a motion.
I'll move.
A motion by Commissioner Nissen to approve Raleigh Nissen.
I'll second that.
And Jenny Lippert to be on that. A second by Commissioner Anderson. No further discussion. I'm here. I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passed unanimously. Now we're down to the Pioneer Land Regional Library Committee.
Mr. Chair, we have one opening there, and I'm not sure what commissioner is supposed to appoint that. Does anyone here know that?
I do not know who went off, so.
Commissioner Emdick.
Well, I'm looking at Deb Forbrook, who I appointed last year, lives in Raleigh's district, as far as I know.
Yeah, could
But
be.
I know there was some challenge with communicating that she was on the committee, but we finally got it done, so I don't know who that opening is.
I don't either.
So maybe we can bring, Mr. Chair,
Please proceed.
Mr. Chair, maybe we can bring that back. Maybe we can make contact with the library to see what commissioner
went
is
off,
supposed to appoint. With COVID stuff, I think we just lost that rotation.
I think we've only had one or two meetings together.
So I will reach out to that and find that out and bring that to a future board.
Thank you. So today we can, though, affirm to, and Commissioner Anderson and alternate Commissioner Nissen, are you willing to continue to
Yes,
serve
I
on that?
will do that.
I'll
and,
entertain a motion then to approve the reappointments.
I'd move on the
A motion by
Pioneer Land
Commissioner
Regional
Gardner
Library.
and a second by the chair. No more discussion at this point. I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Passed unanimously. The next committee is the Community Corrections Advisory Committee. And right now, there's no other appointments to make, I understand. Currently, myself and Commissioner Emdick serve on that. And Commissioner Emdick, are you willing to serve again?
Yes.
And I am as well. Does anybody else have any questions or comments about that? If not, I'll accept a motion to reapprove.
So move on the Community Corrections Advisory Committee.
Thank you, Commissioner Gardner. A motion by him to approve, and
I'll second
a
it.
second by Commissioner Emdick. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Passed unanimously. The Veterans Service Advisory Board, and Commissioner Anderson, you currently serve on that, and there's a couple individuals highlighted. Do we need some reappointments there,
It
or?
passed. Or they're no longer on the committee.
Okay, they're no longer on there. Okay.
Is there
We
a
only met
specific
once in
number?
Last year, so.
Is there a specific number that need to be on that board?
There is not, but as Commissioner Anderson said, they only met one time last year. Because of COVID, it's really been difficult to bring people together.
Yeah.
And Commissioner Gardner.
I think I did sit in on that for you.
Okay, so we need a motion then to, Commissioner Anderson, you're willing to continue to
Yes,
serve?
I am.
To continue to serve on that committee.
I'll move that we.
Motion by Commissioner Nissen.
I'll second that.
A second by Commissioner Emdick. Any discussion? Yes,
Mr.
Commissioner
Chair,
Deck.
it's probably not a requirement, but if there's somebody who's interested in serving, keep that in mind, because I think that we could have a couple more
We
members on.
can, yes.
Very good point, thank you. And hopefully the public gets that information. I'll call for the vote then, there's no further discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign, pass unanimously. North Fork Crow River Advisory Committee, and Commissioner Emdek is currently on that, and your term
yeah.
expires the end of this year, it says. At this point, are you willing to serve again this year?
So I do have a quick, Larry brought up a point. This is the advisory committee or the North Fork Watershed?
Advisory.
Oh, it's two different ones.
Yep,
Yeah, then I don't recall this one ever meeting.
pardon me?
I don't recall this committee ever meeting.
Oh,
Unless we're talking about the Citizens Task Force.
I'm
okay.
not sure.
Well, this one says you meet every Tuesday, second Tuesday of every month, so, I mean,
In Bruton, is that the,
Never have.
in Bruton.
I meet in Bruton, but not on Tuesdays.
So there's a little erroneous information in here,
Okay.
unless there's a,
Mike, I guess the question I have, do we need a motion to approve it, but then go ahead and explore if we should eliminate this committee, or do we just want to put this on hold?
if he's not, if it hasn't met in several years, I would say remove it.
Okay.
To make it, we want our committee to move.
he's on the North Shore One Watershed, One Plan.
No, there's also the North Fork of the Crow River Watershed District.
Oh,
Is that listed?
Can I say something?
That is,
So,
Please.
Roger, if you go to page 9,
One second.
okay.
go to page 9, Roger.
Getting there.
I am on page
If you
9.
go to North Fork One Watershed Plan, you and Dwayne are on that list. So are you confusing that one with this?
I am not. There is the,
Yeah, please proceed, Karen.
not on my page 9.
Robert Brock, to appoint him to this meeting. We get a letter every so often that says that he's expiring and he needs to reappoint. And so he sends the letter in and then you guys vote for him to be on this committee. So I'm not sure where the confusion is.
So, thank you
Mr.
for the.
Chair, I think it's probably misnamed. This should be the North Fork Watershed,
District.
no, yeah.
Okay, say that again so I can
It
get.
should be the North Fork of the Crow River Watershed District.
And they do meet in Bruton every
Watershed?
or when do they meet?
They meet on Mondays. During
Okay.
the winter, they meet in the afternoons. During the 3/4 of the year, they meet in the evenings.
So,
And Robert Rocker is on that.
And Bob Brockler is the manager on the North Fork of the Crow River Watershed.
Okay, Commissioner Kleindahl.
administrator.
Administrator.
I haven't been promoted
I
yet.
thought I would. I'm just so used to saying commissioner, everybody's sitting up
So
there.
on page 9, Roger,
just turned down
we
the
have
promotion.
North Fork One Watershed Plan. So are they the same?
No,
Okay. I just want to make sure we get that clear.
yep, they are
All right.
not the same.
Thank you.
We're changing the title then to North Fork Crow River Watershed
Correct.
District.
Watershed District.
District.
So we will need a motion then
Yes.
to change the name and to reappoint Commissioner Emdek and the other individual.
I will make that.
A motion by Commissioner Nissen. Is there a second?
I'll second.
A second by Commissioner Gardner. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Please proceed.
We talked about it before the meeting. Commissioner Nissen has a couple of acres in that watershed. It is a meeting I'm finding difficult to attend because
The North Fork or the Middle Fork? No.
well, probably the North Fork too. I mean, literally a couple of acres. I can meet when they meet in the afternoons, but I cannot meet when they meet in the evenings because I'm on planning and zoning at the same hour, which is okay. I'm not a voting member or anything over there. And
Well, should we have an alternate for it? Is it possible?
Yeah, you as a commissioners can have alternates. Matter of fact, you make a motion that if somebody can't make it,
Yeah,
you can
right.
contact it.
Yes.
But you can make an official alternate.
Okay, Commissioner Nissen.
Tuesday night's not a good night if it's.
Monday
Tuesday.
night.
Monday night will work, except Prairie Woods. Does it interfere with Prairie Woods?
no, because I'm on Prairie Woods as well.
Okay.
Okay.
I will
It's the second.
happily be
Wednesday.
an alternate.
Okay, so we'll proceed with this one with Commissioner MDEC as a primary, and you would be the alternate as well. Okay.
Then on here, it
Commissioner
should be
Henderson.
changed to, sorry, Mr. Chair. It should be changed to, it says second Tuesday, it should be the second Monday
Second Monday is
Okay,
of every month.
okay,
Good catch, Dwayne.
yes. And that's, I'm assuming would be part of the motion. Okay, any further discussion on this one? It's as clear as mud as everybody, with everybody. Karen, you got it?
Do you have a motion?
yes.
Yes, yes.
I made a motion.
Yeah, Commissioner Nissen, and
Alternate.
seconded by Commissioner Anderson, right?
Anderson did.
Yes. Thank you for clarifying that. Any further discussion?
Wait. You did,
I'm lost now.
it was Nissen and Gardner to begin with,
That's one motion, isn't it?
Motion.
One inclusive.
Yep, one inclusive.
No.
and now
No.
you're doing an alternate. Who's
We-
the motion on the alternate?
Commissioner MDEC.
MDEC
I think
and-
we're on different committees.
No, I'm volunteering to be an alternate on this committee, with Roger remaining as the,
But,
It's for the North Fork
And I
Crow
made that
River
motion.
watershed.
We're still on the North Fork,
Yep,
yeah?
Yep.
okay.
We had initially motion
okay,
to take Commissioner Roger Emdike.
Yeah.
And that was Nissen and Gardner.
a friendly amendment.
And now you're making a motion
that-
to add Nissen as an alternate.
Okay.
Who's making the motion and second on that?
Thank you very much, Karen. I would be happy to entertain a friendly amendment,
yeah, that'd be fine with me.
and
Seconder agrees.
then in a second, I agree. Okay,
So Porky and,
nope, Nissen
It'd be
and
Roger.
Anderson.
Roger for the,
Roger and
delegate or
as a
whatever.
alternate, and I'm the alternate.
Yeah,
I want to make that
Raleigh's,
perfectly
But the
clear.
motion is still Commissioner Nissen's
What's the
and seconded by
name of
Commissioner
first
Anderson.
base?
yes.
It was a friendly
No, I'm
amendment.
confused, it was second by Gardner.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
but I don't know if we
One
needed.
inclusive
That's
I-
fine.
but-
It
But
doesn't
I'm not
matter.
sure. Okay, I think Commissioner Gardner, you were second his friendly amendment. I don't know if we.
I am
needed-
also doing
did we
that.
need to second that friendly amendment, if you accepted it.
Yeah, I'll-
And he accepted it, so I don't think we needed that motion.
Okay.
So I think it was clear as mud again. Okay, any other questions? That there was a friendly amendment, and,
one, it's just one motion. was
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
Nissen and Gardner. We're
Yep,
done.
we're done.
No, Commissioner Nissen and Anderson.
No. That's the motion, yeah.
Yeah, the motion, I'm talking about the motion.
Not, Roger's the delegate, I'm the alternate.
Yep.
You're talking about the motion.
Why don't we
Yeah.
vote it down and start over?
Yeah.
Vote it down and start
I was
over.
just feeling so good, it was going so smooth. Here we are. Well, it shows we're real. Karen, would you repeat what you have, because I do think we're all on the same page, it's a matter of which item we're talking about.
That's kind of why there's three of us here today.
Okay,
Go ahead, Tom. Tom's gonna explain it.
Yes, with Nissen makes the motion, Gardner seconded, and then
No.
with that, they amended the motion to add Commissioner Nissen as the alternate, as well as changing the name plus the.
I thought
That's
Commissioner
fine.
Anderson
That's
seconded.
fine, that's fine.
Commissioner did, okay, Commissioner,
I agree with Tom.
Thank you.
okay. I'm sure everyone's
Whatever
fine
you
with
said.
it. Okay, any further discussion? Hopefully not hearing anymore. I will call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. No, thank you for being patient, everyone, trying to get through this one. I think it worked out just fine. Okay, we have the Minnesota Association of Counties, different committees, Environmental and Natural Resource Committee, Commissioner Anderson, Health and Human Services, Commissioner Berg, Transportation, Commissioner Emdek, General Government, Commissioner Gardner, and Public Safety, Commissioner Nissen. At this point, is everybody willing to continue to serve on those same committees, or is there any desire to switch committees with anybody?
I would move on the AMC committee assignments.
Motion by Commissioner Gardner to move on the committees as stated. Do
I'll
I have-
second that.
And a second by Commissioner Anderson. Any further comments or discussion?
Just a note, Mr. Chair, that I will also be going on to the Subcommittee for Economic Development, Workforce, and Housing of the General Government Committee.
Okay. Along with this motion, do we need to also add extra delegates, Administrator Kleindahl, Mel Odens, and Jennifer Lippert?
That's
be a
the
friendly
intent of my
amendment.
motion,
Okay.
is for it to be all-inclusive.
Okay. You got the motion over there?
Nothing changed.
Nothing changed, okay. I'll call for, no more discussion at this point, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously. Okay, the AIS Task Force Committee. Right now, Commissioner Anderson serves on that, and the alternate is Commissioner Gardner, and we have to make a new appointment of Mr. Oakes. Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay. Any further comments or discussion about that? Commissioner Anderson, and are you willing to serve again, and Commissioner Gardner as the alternate?
Yes.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion then.
I'll move on the AIS Task Force Committee with the additional appointment of Oscar Oakes to the committee.
Okay, we got a motion
I'll second that.
and a second by Commissioner Anderson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously. Administrator Kleindall.
So there's, the next groups of committees you can take as one motion.
So one vote for all.
And so the only thing I would ask the commissioners is if you see a committee that is no longer meeting, or we have a time or date that we mention that, and we'll make that change, but the motion to approve will be made as one motion.
Okay, thank you.
And then we have other ones at the end.
All right,
Well,
Commissioner Nissen.
are we going to take each
Yep.
of these items
Yeah,
separately, though?
Yeah, we're going to
Because,
discuss each one. So
okay.
we'll just start with the very top one, and that involves you, Commissioner Nissen, is the Allied Radio Matrix and Emergency Response Systems.
And I am going to go down to a alternate, and Commissioner Gardner's would like to take that
Okay,
on as one of his committees.
okay, and then there's a second alternate on this, Commissioner Anderson.
Mr.
And-
Chair?
And if you,
I believe that we found out after we did this last year that we can't have a second alternate.
They won't allow it.
No,
oh,
yeah. So we'll
Okay.
just simply strike
Just take mine.
Commissioner Anderson there.
You can talk to Raleigh, they're pretty strict on this, your committee.
Oh, boy, yes, they are, and you're going to have to apply, right, or you have to fill out a document
okay.
and get it to, I can't remember her name, but, so, yeah,
And
well, good luck.
And if I remember conversation in the past, that this is a crucial committee to be at the meetings. We have to attend so many.
Yeah, it's
and-
critical because of funding.
Yep.
And there is one of our committees that dragging their feet a bit, but we managed to keep it where we're still getting the right number.
Close.
But it's because of the 100% of my attendance and a couple of the other committees are like an 80%. But the one other drags us down to 79%, so we got to be careful.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Nissen. Okay, the next one would be the Broadband Committee. And right now, Commissioner Nissen is on that, and Commissioner Emdek.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I am also on, we're
Oh.
going to take Mo's one.
We are, okay.
So I'm also on that broadband committee.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So I don't know if you want to add me, or I'd
Yes.
be glad to not.
Sure, we can add
Good
cost
try
us
to
more
get off
money?
that. Okay, and no further discussion on this. I'm assuming these two commissioners are doing an excellent job on that, and they're way deep into this, and I don't think it'd be a good time to make any changes at this point. The next one is Budget and Finance, and it's board as a whole, and that includes Mr. Thompson as well, and Mr. Kleindall, and Ms. Anderson. And then Buffer and Drainage and Ditch Legal Counsel, and that's Rick Noonan Law Firm. Commissioner Kleindall.
So just for.
Administrator Kleindall.
So point of record, that's the point legal counsel as Ricky Noonan. So when you vote on that, just so you're clarified, that we do retainer for him.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
and Karen got that, all right. And then Buildings, Public Lands, and Jail Inspection, and that's the board as the whole. And then we got the Central Jobs and Training Services. Commissioner Gardner, you currently serve on there, and Commissioner Anderson is the alternate. And are you willing to serve again?
I am. There is also some chance that I may be going on the Workforce Development Board there as well.
Okay, well, thank you. Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Any further discussion about that one? If not, all right, we'll move to the next one. And that's the Central Community Transit and Joint Powers Board. And I myself serve on there, as well as Commissioner Anderson. And I am the current chair there, and I'd be happy to continue to serve. It's a 2-year term. I was the chair this past year, and I'll be the chair this next year. Commissioner Anderson, are you willing to continue to serve? Okay. And okay, I don't need a motion then, if nobody else is interested in the.
Keep going.
Keep going. Chamber Policy Committee, Administrator Kleindahl is currently on that. Are you willing to continue to serve on that?
Yep, and what happens if I can't attend, I just ask any one of the commissioners that's able to go. So.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay. And Chippewa River Watershed District Board, Commissioner Nissen serves on that, and Commissioner Anderson is the alternate. You willing to continue to serve
Yes.
on that?
Yes.
Both of you are? Anybody else is interested? If not, okay, I'll move on to the next one. Convention and Visitors Bureau, Commissioner Gardner is on there, and Commissioner Berg is the alternate. You willing to continue to serve on that?
That's fine.
Thank you. And everybody else is okay with that? It looks like they are. Okay, counties providing technology. Commissioner Nissen is on that, and Commissioner Edc is the alternate, and they meet monthly, according to this. Are you both willing to continue to serve?
They're right in the middle of some big stuff. It'd be tough to change that right now.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, and then we'll move on. County Recorder Compliance and the GIS Committee, and Commissioner Nissen is on that, as well as the list that we have here. I don't know if I need to name them all off.
We only meet maybe once a year. It hasn't been very often.
Once or twice a year, okay. And we both, Commissioner Nissen, you're willing to continue to serve as
Yeah,
well?
I'll show up if they have a
Okay,
meeting.
thank you. County Road and Bridge, and that's the board as a whole. Data Practice Authority, Kandui County Attorney Baker.
Don't let them get away from that one.
Yeah. All right, we will be sure he stays on that committee. Thank you. And then Drug Task Force, Commissioner Anderson, and alternate is Commissioner Nissen.
Yeah.
both
We haven't
will
met
be-
lately since probably,
No.
I don't know, it's been since
October,
Stephanie
maybe.
got off of that as far as running it.
Okay.
So,
So we will both be willing to
Yeah.
serve, and everybody else is okay with that? Okay, an extension, we mentioned that already, so we don't need to go into that.
should that
Flood-
one be crossed off there
Yeah, we could take that one off.
because
Good.
it's redundant?
Yep,
You taking off?
extension, because we mentioned it at the other area, so it's not repeating.
Okay, the next one is flood control, drainage, and soil conservation, and it's the board as a whole. And following that is the Glacial Ridge Trail, and Commissioner Nissen is currently on that. Are you willing to continue to
Yeah,
serve on this?
it's started up there. It's in my district, and we haven't met as often as we used to, but still meet fairly regularly.
All right, thank you for serving on that, and everybody else appears to be okay with that. Hawk Creek Watershed Project, Commissioner Nissen is currently on it, and Commissioner Berg is an alternate.
Mr. Chair, I would give up both the Hawk Creek, those, and I can, you and Dwayne can argue about who wants to take over for me there.
Okay.
We're going to be having Chippewa River Watershed is now going to go through the same thing, so I'm going to be a little busy on that.
That one, yes.
And so I'm happily, you guys figure it out.
Oh, Commissioner Anderson.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if you would like to take that, and I could be the alternate if
You'll be,
I'd be willing to be alternate on that one.
well,
If you would like to be the delegate.
yes, I would like to be the delegate, but I'd also like you to be the alternate. I was on that committee for the first 2 years, and now this year is kind of going to finish up, but doesn't mean it's going to be over with.
Okay, yeah.
So I'd be interested to see through. Commissioner Amdek.
Yeah, I think once the one watershed, one plan for Hawk Creek is approved,
Yeah, first.
likely the Hawk Creek watershed project will go away.
That's up for discussion.
Well, it
at
is,
this point.
they're still in
Yes.
the middle of, because of the great job that the folks that have been in charge of the watershed project, I think they're looking at probably using them as employees. but I don't know where that's going to end up at this point.
Yeah, I think part of it is
That's
that,
still up in the air.
You
yeah,
have money? You find money?
no, and that is part
Oh,
of the,
them, for that.
I'm, the grant is pretty much spent.
Right.
And so now we have to implementation, and they're going to need somebody to do
Right,
that.
okay.
and I think they might be exploring possibility of some kind of a hybrid, that Hot Creek Project would still be there, and that they would contract with Hot Creek Project to
Yeah.
do part of this.
That's
because-
kind of the discussion, but
right,
it's not.
isn't it? Right, it's not a done deal, no.
no.
So,
Mr. Chair, then I would suggest that both of you who are on the Hot Creek Watershed also serve on the Hot Creek.
Yes, I
project.
think.
yes, exactly.
Okay.
I think a good recommendation.
And then on that one watershed, one plan, it says 1:30 a.m. is when we meet. It should be 1:30 p.m.
Yeah.
Oh,
Just
no,
a
that's
typo.
the only time they can find it.
What do you
Otherwise, I
mean,
would
Dwayne? You
oppose
know how
that.
to get up at 1:30 in the morning?
Hey, I love detailed people. That's good.
Clear City, here you come.
All right, I think we finished up on this now, that we got it, but thank you for the clarification. The next is the Health and Human Services Committee. Administrator Kleindahl, you had a comment?
Yeah, I would like, I've had conversations with the chair and the vice chair, and Jenny also has spoken to the board. I'd like to see if the board would ever be willing to entertain to dissolve that committee and move our regular board meetings to start at 9 o'clock, and we could use the first half hour of those meetings for other department heads. We could still have Health and Human Services come from time to time, but it wouldn't be as regular. Oftentimes, as you heard from Director Lippert, oftentimes they're repeating a lot of the same stuff over and over. And so I would like to have this board consider dissolving that committee and making the regular county board meeting start at 9 o'clock. 9 to 9:30 would have kind of establish a time for other departments to present. It would just be part of a regular board meeting. So we'd have one meeting, it'd start at 9 o'clock and you'd go until whatever. I don't expect you to vote today. I understand that you guys want to think about it, but I would be interested in hearing some discussion about that.
Okay, Commissioner Emdek.
Yeah, part of the Health and Human Services meetings, a good part of it, and almost every meeting, we have contracts and agreements to approve. Would they be done then at a regular board meeting as part of a consent agenda or something along those lines, or how would that be handled?
Administrator Kleindahl.
Mr. Chair, thank you for opening the door. As you know, you and I and Mr. Berg have talked about presenting a consent agenda in 2022. And a lot of the contracts that are done at Health and Human Services are just renewals. They could just be done as a consent agenda instead of having somebody present each one and you guys going through just the motions. So they would be done at the minutes, the billing, all that stuff would be done as one meeting. A lot of counties our size or bigger have done away from those committees and just make it part of the regular board meeting. If the board ever would want to have a special meeting with Health and Human Services, whether it be in the Family Service Department or Public Health, you could have those, we could have work sessions and stuff. One of the things that would allow us is some flexibility of how we do that. I just, with our new board packet minute system, I think it might be cleaner. Again, I'm not asking for a motion today, but I would like you to strongly consider it, because I would like to do it sooner than later in 2022.
Okay, Commissioner Emdek.
Yeah, and I think to Administrator Kleindahl's point, this is a good place to talk about this. I would just remind us that if we do have items on the consent agendas, it is our prerogative to ask for them to be removed from the agenda and placed on as a regular item. So
Yes.
we shouldn't be concerned that that is too big of an umbrella for what might be in that.
So, Mr. Chair, just so everybody knows, I in front of your place today, I sent, put a piece of paper about the consent agendas and how it works and some things, and a lot of boards do this. And so it doesn't mean that you can't, like Commissioner Emdike said, doesn't mean you can't pull things off the consent agenda and hear it. But like routine stuff on, the several things that Mel does for renewal contracts or stuff the sheriff does for renewal contracts, those all can be done with the consent agenda. But we can have that discussion of how you want to do that, if you want to do it. I would just like to change some of those things up. I think your time is valuable, and I'd like to make the most of it when we have these meetings.
Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with Administrator Kleindl. I've operated under a consent agenda before, and it is literally probably going to save us a minimum of 15 minutes each in every meeting, just in not having the hands-on on what is really very routine action items. If we feel it's above the routine as an individual commissioner, we again do have the prerogative to request that item be pulled from the consent agenda for discussion. You can pull that item, you can dispense with the remainder of the consent agenda and then handle that individual item. So it's a much more efficient way of handling some of our business, and I appreciate the suggestion that we go in this direction.
Okay, this has been brought up now, and it sounds like there's a lot of support for doing this, but you mentioned about us looking at this and thinking it over. Is this something we should proceed next board meeting?
The next board meeting, soon after that. Again, I'd like to get it in place sooner than later. Again, I'll go back to Health and Human Services. I think we can streamline our minutes and how we do things by going that route. The consent agenda is just a natural thing. Yeah. You wouldn't have to do it all the time, but you as a board can kind of set the parameters and we could try it out.
We kind of got off the agenda for the Health and Human Services Committee.
But they go kind of hand in hand.
And yes, Commissioner Nissen.
I just think, the Health and Human Services portion of the county budget is pretty large, and I think the public needs to be kept in the loop on what's going on. So I don't want to bury everything in the consent agenda.
No.
I see that sometimes in other committees I serve on. I look at it and see what's in there, but I don't know if everybody on the board does, and the public
Right.
probably aren't going to dig that deep. So I think it's kind of important to, because of the size of the budget for that department, those departments, I should say, we need to keep that in front of the public a little bit.
Sure, and we'd still have that, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
Yep, please.
We'd still have that opportunity to bring it during those times. A lot of the stuff we're talking about consent agendas is renewal of contracts that are the same contracts that you have like with Woodland Centers, that there's really no changes on those.
I understand that. I just thought that other part is also important.
Sure.
Thank you, Commissioner Nissen. May I suggest, though, that we could, at this point, still approve the Health and Human Services Committee, and at our next board meeting, put it back on the agenda that we talk about the consent agenda as well as the Health and Human Services Committee and how we should structure that. One of the thoughts I would like to discuss then would be, maybe we can just go to quarterly meetings. I don't know if that'd be too confusing for the agenda. I look at community corrections, we have them on there in a quarterly meeting, but that's an advisory committee and they're required to do that. But if they came quarterly and just try that out for a year. But I would like to suggest that we postpone this and make a decision next meeting.
Yeah, those things,
Anderson.
we could always have them be part of the agenda anyway, the regular agenda.
Okay.
For now, Mr. Chair, I'd be agreeable to serving as the vice chair, and I would presume that Commissioner Emdike would continue as chair.
Okay, and that's a motion?
And we just, well, it's not a motion, but
Oh, that's right. That's
okay.
Yeah, thanks. Hey, I went this far. Well, forgetting, did better than last time. All right, the next one, we were all in agreement at this point. And Commissioner Nissen and
Yes, I am happily, actually became the president of or chair of the Historical Society Board, so.
we'd be willing to serve again.
Yeah, and Harlan Mattson has resigned just recently, and so, maybe, he came from Dwayne's district, if Dwayne can come up with someone that
Oh.
he would like to appoint.
Is that someone at large, or is it just my district?
No, someone in your district, that's where Harlan was from, but it could be someone at large, I guess. In Harlan's case, when he retired from the board, I thought he'd be a good fit for the Historical Society. But he no longer wants to be part of that. So,
Dwayne can find somebody, if not.
yeah, and if,
open it up.
Dwayne, you can consult with me on that, and we'll find somebody.
Yeah.
And Commissioner Anderson, I did not ask you, are you willing to serve again on that?
Yes.
Okay, so we're both in agreement. Everybody's in agreement with that. We'll move on to the next one. On page 9, Humane Society, Commissioner Gardner, and Corky Berg as alternate.
No,
You want to
I'm
continue to
agreeable
serve?
to serving. That's between the executive committee, regular board meetings, and the finance. That's about 24 meetings a year.
Okay, whoa. Okay, thank you for willing to serve on this, and we'll move on to the next one after that. Highway 7 Task Force, Commissioner Anderson and Mr. Odens. Everybody's okay with it?
I'm okay with that. I don't think we met.
Never
Haven't met
met.
yet.
I don't think they met
We
for,
never met in the last
No,
year.
and I think some of these are about the same. Highway 12 Task Force, Commissioner Gardner, Commissioner Nissen, and Mr. Odens.
Sounds good.
I would suggest that I be removed from that, since if the redistricting goes as planned, I really will have no dog in the hunt as far as.
I could be on that one. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I
How
think-
often have you met?
never.
You never meet.
And there- yeah, so-
Yeah, I could be put on there.
Okay,
Because
Commissioner-
it goes through my whole district then.
So we'll put Commissioner Anderson in place of Mr. Nissen.
Yep.
Okay, Highway 23 Coalition, Commissioner Emdak, Mr. Odens, and Mr. Nissen.
Yes, that's
Yes.
fine with me.
Yep.
Okay. And Intergovernmental Relations Board as a whole, there's a subcommittee. I'm on that myself. Commissioner Gardner is, and Administrator Kleindahl, and they meet 3 to 4 times a year. Everybody else comfortable with that? Okay. We will move on to the EDC Board. And right now, Commissioner Nissen, Commissioner Gardner, and myself are on that. Everybody willing to serve again on that?
Yes.
And is there any other questions or discussions people have about that?
I think we don't need to do this today, but we have to reappoint someone from the county to serve another term, and then there's an opening.
Yep.
So I think that should,
This is the
Be done.
governing board, though.
Hmm?
This is the governing board.
Yeah.
this is the governing board did.
So that recommendation will come back
Yeah.
through the EDC, right?
Because it's
Okay.
an operations board, you have
Yeah.
a term expired.
Yeah.
Raleigh Ball, his term is up.
Oh, all righty. Okay. Any further questions, comments on this? Not, I'll move to the next one. The Drug Free Coalition, Commissioner Anderson, and Commissioner Nissen is the alternate.
Yeah, on that one, I'm chairing it currently. I just got nominated as the chair, put on there since in
Congratulations.
November. But I have a conflict that has come up, and that's I'm on South Fork Crow River Watershed, one plan committee, and that's going to be at 9 a.m. on that Wednesday. And that's meets in Hutch, and this is in Wilmer, and it's going to be hard for me to make it to this committee, for here on out, basically. So if, like maybe Steve, I talked to him briefly about it. He said he was maybe willing to take it instead of myself. I really miss, I'll really miss it because Annie Tepfer, she's the one that puts it on, and she has a nice homemade soup every meeting. And I learn a lot at that. I mean,
Yeah.
my eyes have really been opened about drugs in the community and stuff, so.
Yeah. Important committee. And you're fine with that? And
Yes, I am.
Commissioner Nissen, you're fine with being an alternate? I think you're listed as alternate.
Trying to clear my Wednesdays.
Oh.
So,
Does anybody else want to be Wednesday to give Raleigh a break on Wednesdays?
Dwayne could be the alternate.
I could maybe be the alternate on that.
I think that would work.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, got that down, everybody? All righty. Lake Improvement Board as a whole, Law Library, I'm the current commissioner on that. I would be happy to continue to serving on that. We meet about 4 times a year. We have a meeting coming up in week and a half, I think. Otherwise, if everybody else is interested, if not, I'm fine with that. So we'll move on to the next one. The MCIT, and Commissioner Nissen is the appointment for that. Are you willing to serve?
I'm
again?
fine. They only meet usually during EMC annual meeting and sometimes at the fall conference, but
Sure. And Commissioner Emdek is the alternate. Commissioner Emdek, you okay being the alternate for MCIT? Okay. Middle Fork Crow River, Commissioner Emdek and the alternate Commissioner Anderson.
Makes sense.
And you're both willing to continue to serve on that, and like Administrator Kleindall says, it makes sense. Mid-Minnesota Development Commission, Commissioner Nissen.
yes,
You're willing to
happily.
continue to serve.
Continue, yep.
And we don't need an alternate for that then? No.
No.
Okay. And everybody's okay with this, all righty? North Fork One Watershed Plan, Commissioner Endek and Commissioner Anderson. Commissioner Anderson is an alternate.
I'm good with that.
That's fine.
You're good with the way it is? Okay,
What's that? Yeah.
all right. Nothing. Pardon me?
What's that?
Why are you looking at me?
Well, I was wondering that North Fork, wasn't there one that came up that you were on there too, Raleigh, or
No, that's,
or is that?
that was at North Fork Crow River. That was the discussion about meeting in Bruton.
Yeah, okay,
And
all right.
We won't go back there.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was, Mr. Chair. it
Please
was-
proceed. Yeah.
When this was organized, I would have preferred if they'd have just called it the Crow River One Watershed, One Plan, but then South Fork wasn't included in that plan, so it's all a little confusing.
Okay, all right. Moving on from there then, we have Noxious Weeds Committee, and that's the board as a whole, Office of Emergency Management, board as a whole, Pack for Families, I'm the current commissioner, and Raleigh Nissen is the alternate. I'm fine with serving again on that.
yes,
Are you okay with that? It
Yep.
hasn't been too much need for that. The Park Board, board as a whole, and the subcommittee, which was very busy last year, is Commissioner Anderson and Commissioner Nissen. Are you both willing to continue to
Yes.
serve on the Park Committee?
Yes.
And that's okay with everybody else? All right. Personnel and Labor Relations, Commissioner Emdak and myself have served, as well as Human Resource Director and Administrator Kleindall. And that should probably stay the same, I'm thinking, so we'll move on from there. Planning and Zoning, Painesville, Commissioner Emdak. And you're willing to continue to serve, and that certainly makes sense as well. Prairie Lakes Youth Program, I'm on that board, and the alternate is Commissioner Gardner. I would be happy to continue to serve on that with all that's taking place right now, if everybody's okay with that. All right. Well, we're homing down to the last page. Prairie Woods Environmental Learning Center. Right now, Commissioner Nissen and Commissioner Endek serves on that, and Commissioner Anderson is on it as a board of trustees. Are you all willing to continue to serve on that? And is that okay with everybody else? Yep. I see the nod as, that's fine. Okay, Prime West, Commissioner Nissen has been on that, and I'm the alternate, and Jenny Lippert as well. You willing to continue to serve on that? Okay, thank you. Recycling, and this is on here, even though the recycling center is no longer in operation. I believe Mr. Kleindall likes to pull some people together, and would you want to
Yeah,
share on that?
even though our recycling's changed, we still have recycling in the county that we have discussions. As we have glitches and stuff, it'd be nice to have that committee able to still come together as needed.
Should it possibly be renamed, Mr. Chair?
Oh,
Since there's no longer a recycling center,
This could be called recycling,
or
Recycling
recycling.
program?
committee.
Yeah.
Commissioner Emdek, that was your comment too?
Oh, recycling program?
Yeah.
Just recycling is fine.
Okay. Recycling.
recycling, okay.
Very good, thank you. Where are we at? Restorative Justice, Commissioner Gardner is a commissioner serving on that. Are you,
Mr. Chair, I would leave that open for Commissioner Nissen to serve, if he's
I would
so
do
willing.
that, yes.
so Commissioner Nissen's going to be on Restorative Justice. Okay, everybody got that? Shakopee Headwaters, Commissioner Nissen, are you willing to serve on that again?
That's a committee that's ad hoc to trying to get something done on ditch 27, and we run into barrier after barrier after barrier. So I'll stay on that. We're working with a group up there that has been working on it for a long time. So continue to try to get something done, but it's like moving heaven and earth.
Okay, all right, thank you for serving.
luck.
Yeah, good luck. The next one is Southwest 18 County Mental Health Board or Consortium, and I'm currently serving that, and Commissioner Nissen is the alternate, and I'm willing to continue to serve on that, and that's somebody else's interest, and that's okay. I'm just going to check with you, Commissioner Nissen, if you're willing to be the
Yeah,
alternate
I
for that.
guess I've never been asked to be at a meeting, so you must be attending regularly.
Well, I try to do my best. Some of the meetings are really easy. You wouldn't need an alternate necessarily. Some
No
are quarterly, it's a must, and been able to work those out. But every now and then, I do have a conflict with the transport, West Central, or our community transit system every once in a while, but
Yeah.
thank you, though. Okay, the Southwest Service Co-op,
Yeah, and that's just a 1 or 2 meeting a year thing, and I'll be happy to continue to serve on that. It's an insurance-oriented thing, and I have the experience in the insurance. So.
you definitely do compared to the rest of us. Thank you for serving on that. The TEST, or Traffic Education and Safety Team, Commissioner Anderson, are you willing to continue to serve on that?
Yes, I don't think we've met in, I don't know how long it's, so, but yeah, that, I'll be willing to serve on that.
I think some of these committees that, for example, like that one, are going to start now come summer. Hopefully, the COVID stuff will change, and they're going to get going up to getting up to speed a lot faster. Tourism Committee, Commissioner Gardner, and Corky Berg is the alternate. Are you willing to continue to serve? And I am willing. Is that okay with everybody? It looks like it is. United Community Action Partnership. Dwayne Anderson, you're currently on that?
Yep.
Or you, Cap?
Yep.
And you're willing to serve?
Yes.
And you don't have an alternate, you don't need an alternate, it looks like. Okay, Vision 2040 Steering Committee, Dwayne Anderson and Administrator Kleindahl. You're both okay with those committees?
Yes.
And yes, all right. West Central Industries, Commissioner Nissen, are you,
Well,
I know you have
I got other
conflicts on
meetings.
some days, and
Yeah.
this one doesn't fit very well.
Well, and Monday's a crazy day anyway, and then that's when they meet. So if someone else would like to have that,
When do they meet?
Monday at 3:30.
Which Monday?
The last Monday, I believe.
Yeah, third or fourth.
Yeah, I just
Right.
looked it up earlier, and I think it's the last Monday of the month.
I would have that open.
Commissioner Gardner, you willing to take that?
Sure.
Okay,
Steve took that one?
yep,
Yeah.
all right. And you don't need an alternate on that, I take it.
No.
West Central Mental Health Housing as the board as a whole. And the Wilmer Y Project, and that's myself and Commissioner Emdack, Mr. Odens, and Administrator Kleindahl. And it meets as needed.
You gonna close that up this in 2022, Mill, so we can get that off our thing? You're
Well,
responsible.
we better keep this one going at least this year.
Okay.
All right. And so,
Mr. Chair, I would move on the committees as were discussed.
okay, so we have a motion to approve the preceding county board appointments and members of the internal committees. And we have a motion. Do we have a
Second.
second by Commissioner Gardner? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, pass unanimously.
Mr. Chair, I would move that all county board members are appointed as alternates to the members appointed to the various committees and boards.
And do I have a second?
I'll second
And a
that.
second by Commissioner Nissen. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, pass unanimously. We also have the ditch authority, even though we presented nothing. Do we need a motion just to continue the same individuals on the ditch authority that are currently on there from this past year? So I'd entertain a motion to keep the same individuals as
I'll
assigned.
second that.
And a second by Commissioner Anderson.
Yep.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously. Now, two more motions at this point. That I need a motion that all elected and appointed county officials are hereby authorized to attend meetings of the respective associations and committee meetings, and funds are thereby appropriated for the county revenue, from the county revenue fund to pay the cost of the said officials in connection therewith was on vote. All right, I need a motion.
I'll move that.
A motion.
I'll second.
And a motion by Commissioner Nissen, and a second by Commissioner Anderson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously.
Mr. Chair, I would offer a motion to authorize the county board chair or vice chair to sign documents in the absence of the county administrator.
Motion by Commissioner Gardner, a second by Commissioner Edc. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously.
How about a break?
We'll just say, because Steve Gardner did his excellent spreadsheet, we went through this a lot faster today. A very good discussion, though, of many issues and of our different committees, and it's good to hear, to have the public to hear this kind of discussion that we have of how we make our appointments.
Maybe
Administrator
Contact.
Administrator Kleindall, please, to have
So
the floor.
maybe before we take a recess, we can quick do the resolution, and then we take a break, and then our legislative people should be here, and we can go right into that.
Okay. And this is for,
Resolution 2022, by law, we need to set the salary for the next year. This 2022 is election year, so by law, for the election, people go filing for election, they need to know what the minimum salary is. And so this resolution sets the minimum salary for 2023. And our elected officials, as you know, in Kandui County are commissioners, the county attorney's office, and the county sheriff's office. And so this here just sets the minimum salaries by statute.
okay.
I would move on Resolution 2022-2.
A motion by Commissioner Gardner. Do I have a second?
I'll second
A
that.
second by Commissioner Edc. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously. And at this point, I will move that we take a recess for approximately 10 minutes. Thank you. I hereby call the Kandui County Board of Commissioners back in session. Next on the agenda items, we have legislative updates, and we're very honored to have Senator Andrew Lang with us and Representative Dave Baker. And would you please come forward and give us updates? I think we discussed possibly, we have some exchange of ideas and information between each other. So please proceed.
Good morning. Yeah, good morning, Mr. Chair.
Good morning.
And Commissioners, it's great. Happy New Year. It's an honor again to stand in front of you as the state representative that represents most of your county. I have about 90% of it, I suppose, and so it's been an honor, and I've really enjoyed, again, working with your personnel team here. The commissioners that have visited us in St. Paul. Working with Administrator Kleinel has been an absolute treat, and I have so much respect for Larry, so thank you for everybody.
Thank you.
And I think Senator Lang and I are just going to make a brief update. I'll let Senator Lang make an opening comment, and we can just kind of share that we're getting ready to get to work in St. Paul here at the end of the month. We've got exactly about 4 weeks from yesterday to get started with. So with that, Mr. Chair, I'll turn it over to Senator Lang for now.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate the invite as always. It's always nice to get in front of the commissioners and talk a little bit of business. Again, like Dave said, we're leading into a fresh session, a short session, hopefully. This is our bonding year. As many of you know, we have a substantial surplus leading into the bonding year, which has led to a lot of some profitization going as we are looking towards the upcoming year and how some of that is going with how that spends. Specifically speaking with bonding, I think we're in a unique position. We had a bonding committee that had done a tour throughout southwest Minnesota. We made a bunch of stops. We kind of surrounded Kandui County. Actually, I shouldn't say that. We did stop in Spicer, but we kind of surrounded Kandui County, hit the edges with Bird Island and Lake Lillian and talked about some of their projects. We did southwest even further. The substantial amount of wastewater infrastructure projects that goes through the bonding process this year. There is a lot of light rail not commuter rail, but light transport, Southwest Minnesota rail that we visited as well. So getting into a year like that, I'm kind of at the point now where I'm going on leave from work, and we're talking about getting back into session and getting meetings scheduled and things like that. So it should be an interesting year.
Okay.
As all.
Every
as all
year
are,
is
yeah.
an interesting year. And you say about going back to work, I know you guys are working year-round, so.
Yeah.
But,
Glad you recognize that, too.
Yeah.
But it's what we signed up for, and then, as the Senator has said, it should be a shorter session. Our main focus will be to get a bonding bill done. With record surplus dollars, I believe that we should be able to do a good job with it, but does not mean we're going to spend all this money at all. It shouldn't be that at all, and we still have some policy issues to work through. And again, as Larry Kleinel knows, working hard on opioid policy changes with all the counties in the state of Minnesota with a very complex multinational agreement that's coming together, and I'm working on that quite a bit. So we've got policy things to get right. We've got a bonding bill to talk about, and we've got, we've just got an election year ahead of us that, again, honestly, and redistricting, which creates a lot of new things that happens with our colleagues. So we're here today to listen, to tell you that we're here to support the bonding projects that are on our docket, which is one that's, again, with the county, with our broadband projects that we need to get done. And we need to get this federal language cleaned up and get it right, and so that we get this money, this ARPA money, moving forward to us, so we get these projects in the ground for this coming season. And also, just again, with the extension of Highway 55 road project that we have to get done in Kandui County, we got to get that wrapped up. And Mel has done a wonderful job getting us up to speed, all the right information. We've got Prairie Lakes. We're re-looking at some of the details on that. We're just going to reassess that project that has been approved already by the past bonding. We've got CABS putting on a new motor skills area this spring and this summer that was approved a couple years ago, so that's going to be happening this year. And so we've got other things. We've got to talk about the Sibley Bike Trail at some point too. So we've got a number of things on the bonding list, Mr. Chair and members, that we want to make sure that we continue to support our county. So,
Yeah, and those are a long list of projects. So, as you drive throughout Kandui County, it's interesting. And looking back just 5 years now that I've been around and in this position, all the things when you drive by, the things we've been involved with as things to be proud of as Kandui County commissioners, and thinking about CABS Hospital, thinking about Prairie Lakes,
Turkey lab, the poultry lab.
Poultry lab, yeah, I think, you know, that completely slips my mind until we drive past that, and you're like, oh, that's right. Good.
So we're here to listen, and we're here to take your questions and
Thank you.
concerns, because we are working for you in St. Paul, as we represent, at least I do, again, we represent the whole county.
In speaking specifically about redistricting, I think this is something that we should probably bring up. There is a multitude of maps that have been proposed. Our duty in the Senate and our duty in the House is that we pass a map. The maps will not be the same, obviously. We're living in a split House, Republicans in the Senate and Democrats in the House, that will have two different maps. From what I've seen, and this is not anything where Dave and I really have a whole lot of input other than population growth and how it moves throughout the district, both of us have Kandui County as a whole. I haven't seen anything split off by townships or anything like that.
Good.
Representative Miller may be slid to the southeast. Most likely he won't have any of Kandui County. So, you know, logically speaking, I would see us maintaining most of Kandui County. There's only been one map that I've seen where I only have a portion of Kandui County, and even then it is Wilmer as a whole, and then it cuts off north of Wilmer. So that being said, I won't represent most likely anything west of you guys. You guys are probably going to be the furthest west I go. Dave probably will be pretty close to what you've been in the past. Probably Kandui County as a whole, I would fair to guess. The date that most of that happens is February 12th. It'll be a big news day, kind of how things shake out when it comes to. But that being said, I need to learn some new counties. I need to find out how far southeast I'm going to go. I've seen some maps as far as Chaska. I have a significant change in districts, so bear with me as that happens in February, and we try to figure out exactly what that means. So, yeah, redistricting, budget surplus, huge budget surplus as we lead into this year. That is announced in February. We get the real numbers. In November. We get the real numbers in February. When that happens, the real budgetary numbers, I'm guessing, is still going to be around $8 billion. That is a lot of money. That is a lot of money in a period of years where we've had a lot of money. Every year since I've been in the Senate, we've had a budget surplus somewhere between $1 billion and $2 billion. This is something completely different.
Yeah.
The state has received over the course of the last, say, 18 to 20 months, around that same dollar amount from the federal government for a series of COVID-related issues. I don't know if I dare call it a bailout, but that's kind of what it was when it comes to programs and services, and really an assistance package to most states and municipalities and counties. When it comes to this budget that is coming up, Dave and I were just talking a little bit before we got up, and some of the things that the day after they already had $20 billion spent on the radio. If you listen to everybody the way they're talking. I would tell you that as a legislator, that isn't our money. That's the people of Minnesota's money. That is money that if it's going to be spent, it's going to be on long-term projects, infrastructure being one. That's one where Dave and I are in pretty close agreement on. We need to match those federal infrastructure dollars. That's something where that saves money for our kids and our grandkids down the road. When it comes to things like Social Security tax, Minnesota is one of 5 states that does that. I don't know why we still do it. We need to get rid of that tax. There are a bunch of other ideas that have been thrown out there when it comes to long-term tax savings. We need to give that money back to the people, but I want to do it not in a Jesse check. I know that's been a popular thing, but I want to do it in a way that means something for future generations, so that we wisely spend that money. And if it's infrastructure, that's fine. If it's tax reduction when it comes to Social Security, so when we all retire, we don't have to pay that tax. Again, I'm sure you've all seen the magazines that show Minnesota is not exactly a tax haven. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting year. I know I keep saying that, but
Okay.
no, I don't know. Is anything?
Again, generally, because it's the budget's been set last year, we were successful to kind of do some good work with the Association of Minnesota Counties, with LGA funding. I think we did a good job there. It was a year that we didn't have to fight and squabble over the dollar bills. And that was nice, but we found ways to squabble about other things, right? And we're trying to get our economy back on a more footing with all businesses and all folks that want a job. You know, there's so much discussion out here about just how the healthcare system is going to kind of get stood back up again, and how do we support our healthcare workers, and how do we respect the workers that want to make choices on their own without being forced to do things they don't want to do. That is another day. That's another thing to talk about. But we just need to make sure that we get Minnesotans feeling safe, good roads infrastructure, be good stewards of the dollars that we do have in the bank, and by listening to our county commissioners, our city officials, anybody that's elected, our school officials. And so we're on that circuit right now to make sure that we're listening to our other elected officials, because we are here for you. We're here to listen to you and take that message to St. Paul, tell you when we agree, tell you when we disagree, and maybe why we are having some issues there. But I think my conversations with most of the commissioners here have been very good and positive about the needs for the county. This is my home, and this is where we want to live, and this is where we want to prosper with our children and see our parks get better and all the things that are happening around us. So I think with that, we can just turn over to the commissioners with any questions that you have, Mr. Chairman.
Well, thank you very much, and I just wanted to add some kudos, and it's been a very good last year working with you, and we have such a very positive working relationship with you, and I don't know if the public is aware of our relationships we have with our representatives and our senators representing us, and thank you, and all the communication that takes place, not just here formally, but individually. I appreciate that very much. At this point, I would like to call on the board for questions and answer. Commissioner Emdek is first, and then we'll go to Commissioner Anderson. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks to both of you for the work you do in St. Paul on our behalf, and Representative Baker, particularly in the opioid settlement thing that we just went through. I know you worked hand in glove with Administrator Kleindl, and it was a really positive outcome, even though the dollars are kind of small. It just went well. I thought went well. This is kind of a policy question. I know it's a bonding year, but we on the EDC Broadband Committee, we struggle with some of the regulations that keep us from applying for border-to-border grants because they overlap with RDOF areas, or I've lost track of the different opportunities, but one of them is the ARPA dollars, whether we can use ARPA dollars, and the legislature has appropriated the ARPA dollars to make our match, your match, I should say, for broadband. So that would really be helpful if we would remove some of those barriers for applying for the grants, and particularly where LTD got the RDOF dollars, and they got these itty bitty pockets all over not only Kandui County, all over the state and nation, really. That and nobody has any idea if and when they'll ever get to putting the fiber in the grounds. That would be very helpful.
And I think that's part of a bigger list of Association of Minnesota Counties has on their agenda as well, if I remember right. And maybe the EDC.
Connie, would you want to make a comment?
Yeah.
Yeah, please come up and identify yourself and who you represent.
Always the mics don't pick it up.
Yep.
Good morning. Thank you. I'm Connie
morning.
Schmall.
Thank you.
I'm contracting with the county and the EDC to work on broadband since my retirement last June, and it's been really busy. I thought I'd have one or two projects, and it looks like 7 or 8 right now. Thank you, Senator Lang and Representative Baker, for what you do at the state capitol. I just want you to know this group of people is very, very committed to broadband. They looked at the ARPA funds and said, we're going to prioritize broadband, this one-time infrastructure, because it's so necessary in Kandui County. And again, we only have 7 projects because of all the federal money coming in, all the different opportunities we have right now. It's a challenge because things don't match up. Federal's asking for this, and this be, and the state has different priorities. I know they're working on that, and I appreciate that. I know they're working on the language of using the ARPA funds in conjunction with border to border, so I'm grateful for that. That's important. What I do want to see is the money coming forward. We were prepared to write a border-to-border grant in August and September, and we still don't have those RFPs out. I'm hoping it comes quickly. We were supposed to hear about an NTIA, a large grant for the northwest part of Kandui County by end of November. Now it looks like January, February. I imagine the states also wants to see the NTIA awards so they can help make their decisions on the border-to-border grants. But this needs to happen. We can't lose a construction year in Minnesota. So we've got to see something now. And then the $180 million coming to the state of Minnesota for broadband, I'd love to see some changes in policy with that kind of money. All the low-hanging fruit is already done, the areas that have a lot of population and ability to pull the money in to pay for the infrastructure. But when you look at the rural areas of Kandui County, the population isn't there. So if we could look at some differences in the 50% grant match and get up to 70, 75 on some of those areas. So those would be my priorities, and I'm grateful to this board for supporting what we're doing.
Thank you, Connie, very much. Commissioner Anderson, you were going to comment, but
Yes.
we're on broadband now.
Yep, we are on broadband, yep.
So,
And my comment is I represent the southern half of Kandui County. I have 12 townships, and that's the concern I have, is that I have areas where we're too populated to get federal funds, I think, for a lot of the projects, but we're underpopulated enough really to justify for having like a co-op come in or some other company come in and then put in fiber optics. So I just want to reiterate what Connie said. Don't forget us, because there's a lot of areas that still need it. And I look at it as, when the pandemic happened and then we had all the lockdowns and everybody was distance learning and people were trying to work from home. There were people in my district that were using a smartphone as a hotspot, and they said they literally burnt up one of their phones. It literally became a hotspot, and so that's an expensive way if you're going to try to work from home or do distance learning, to burn up a $1,000 phone every 6 months or whatever and go through that. It'd be nice to be able to get continue getting funding to help the needs of our area down here where we have lower population. And I know I like to save money too, but as far as moving Minnesota forward, we really do need to get high-speed internet in our areas.
okay, thank you. Commissioner Nissen.
Yes, carrying forward the broadband topic. The frustration is, and it always has been with me, is getting the federal and the state folks to work together cooperatively. We met with Tina Smith here a while back, and we kind of asked, and we got, I thought, good news. Well, it's still up in the air. Can the state use their dollars, their ARPA dollars, to help us fund border to border? And we haven't been able to even submit a grant yet, correct? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I cannot understand why we cannot, and maybe the state has to shift money so that they can shoot some of that money out in border to border and it not be a federal, maybe that's what we have to do, but we have to do something really quickly, otherwise we'll lose the construction season. We don't have a long construction season in the first place, so.
And to that, Mr. Commissioner, and others, we need to get the product here because there's a supply chain issue, if anybody hasn't heard about that, with fiber and so.
Oh, sure.
So I hear you completely. What there is a lack of is a communication between federal and state employees. I wish Senator Smith and others on both parties would get a hold of us and say, where is this at?
Mm-hmm.
What I'd like to do is to be able to meet with Connie, and hopefully Senator Lang can do this too, but we need to meet with Connie and the EDC office about the broadband details about what do we need to do as we go down there. We need to be ready to hit this thing with the feet on the ground. I think it's just policy that's getting in the way. The money's not the issue. We got to get the policy figured out so you know where to go, so we can get the biggest chunk of money and the biggest premise connected to this that we can. So I completely hear you, but we have to, I want to make sure that what can the state of Minnesota do when we get to there on January 31st, it should be one of the first bills that's put in is how do we fix that language. Most of you know I was part of writing the language 6-7 years ago. And there's a lot of differences now in 6-7 years later. We should change that language. I'm fully behind that. Things have changed. Technology has changed. The providers have changed. We've seen big providers that we call incumbents have failed completely, especially in your Anderson. I mean, Commissioner Anderson, your area is got a real problem area there because of the provider that's there, quite frankly. We need to get that over. We need to overcome that. And again, I'm looking forward to working with the Office of Broadband directly to find out what details we need to do it. So I'll look to Connie to set up a meeting with us before we go to session, because this is a really big issue. It's got a lot of details to it, and there's updates I don't even have yet. But I am, like you, Raleigh, committed to getting this thing done, because we cannot lose the 22 season of construction. We just can't afford to do that. Time is, seriously, that's money, but it's also lives, and we got to make sure we get this thing out there.
And it's, what Commissioner Anderson
Please
said,
proceed.
it's critical to telehealth, to education, to working from home. All of these things have become the new rural electric issue. And it's an infrastructure thing that it has to happen, we're floating money, and yet we can't work together, federal and state, to get the job done. It's the most frustrating thing.
Thank you, Commissioner Nissen. We are still on the broadband theme. Commissioner Gardner, did you have something about broadband? Otherwise,
I do not.
oh, and did you want to comment?
Yeah,
if I may?
But please
put you on
continue.
hold? Yes.
So two of the main
Minister
policies
Feingold.
I would like to see changed in the broadband is eliminating the first right of refusal for incumbents. That has to be removed. And then what Connie talked about, we need to change the percent that has to be matched. Because of the cost, 50/50 was good when we first started, but now at least a minimum of 75 to 25. And I believe everybody needs a skin in the game, but in these rural areas, we had a meeting yesterday, and when you start getting 1.6 miles apart in houses and stuff, it makes a big difference.
That's part of the, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, but that's part of the policy, Larry, we're talking about, that I recognize today needs to be relooked at. So I agree with you.
Okay. Commissioner Emdek.
Again, it's along the lines of broadband.
Broadband,
So
yes. I'm
The other,
assuming-
the other
let's-
thing is,
May I interrupt you a second? Let's stay on broadband just a little bit longer and then move on to some other issues. And then at the end, we can come back to it. I know broadband is our biggest issue and we strongly support, so it deserves a lot of time. Please proceed.
thank you, Mr. Chair. Along those policy issues, when a company comes in and like LTD has done, and they cherry pick these spots and they got the grant, and then there's no action, there ought to be some teeth in it, that if that action doesn't happen by a certain time, you either give up your grant or you start paying penalties, just like contractors do, if they don't finish a job on time. It handcuffs all of the other opportunities that we have.
Okay.
Could I say one more thing about that?
One more thing and then we'll move
One
on.
thing that's been frustrating is I live kind of off of Highway 7 south of here, and over the last 5-6 years, I've seen people, different companies putting in fiber optic, and one time we asked, can we get on it? And they go, no, this is just for the libraries, was to connect up all the community libraries, which is great. And then there was another one that came through and another one, and it's like, none of them will allow us to hook into it. And it would have been nice if they could have all gotten together, because the most expensive part is putting it in the ground. And if they could have just done it once, and instead of having 4, 5, 6 different lines, if they could have just all gotten together and done it one time, and they could have all saved money. It's just a suggestion.
Thank you, Commissioner Anderson. Now I'll call on Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I can't add anything else to the broadband discussion other than to say that I'm wholly supportive of all of the efforts of all of the players here. I do want to take us into one issue that I think is really of paramount importance to our families, to our workforce, to our employers, and that's the issue of childcare. We've seen throughout this pandemic, a lot of folks have made the choice, whether willingly or otherwise, to leave the workforce in order to care for their children, to help them out at home, with school, where broadband plays a role there, of course. But to be able to get folks back into the workforce, I think we need a reformation of the entire way that we handle childcare. Do I know what that looks like completely? No. But what we probably need to take a look at is this being an area that both parties can agree on. I hear on one side, well, there are too many regulations. I hear on the other side, well, we just need to spend more money. I suspect that it's a little bit of both. And I would hope that that's something that you as legislators can carry forward within your caucus and across party lines to be able to get this done. The AMC General Government Committee, as well as the Human Services Committee, specifically point to childcare as a real burning issue, and it really is an economic development issue as well. Sitting on Central Minnesota Jobs and Training Services, a Joint Powers Board, and hearing folks talk about how they just can't find workers, well, there's probably a lot of folks who would like to get back into the workforce, but they don't have any place for their kids right now. So that's an area that not only for you, but for this board as well, that I hope we pay some attention to here in this upcoming year.
No, I totally agree, and you're correct when you say that it's both a money and a policy issue, because it has been, and I think it's, this has been something that's been around since I first was elected or even trying to run, is when we had at the old Skylark Mall, we had a daycare meeting. We had 40, 50 daycare providers in there angry with the state over, well, actually at the time it was a unionization idea, but they were angry and they were motivated, and since that time we had the CCAP fraud program, if everybody remembers that, how, and that really has kind of spurred on a little bit of a revolution within the daycare field. And in our district, we've seen substantial, Dave was very closely involved with the YMCA and how they tried or successfully, increase that. But I think idealistically, you have to look at it at three different aspects. I mean, you have current providers that need probably a little bit of assistance when it comes to some of the regulations, some of the ease of regulation. But before that, you have, how do you get new, younger men and women into the field? How do you tax incentivize them to both start a daycare, whether it be a center-based or home-based daycare, either way? How do you incentivize that? You need to have some sort of education program. You need to have, again, tax incentives when it comes to if it is a home-based or a childcare-based. Continuing education in the middle, when you have middle-aged folks that are involved with that, how do you, whether it's a food program, whether it's compliance with state issues, and then you have to have some sort of a transition program when those older daycare providers, especially the home-based ones, are looking to retire. What happens to all those kids that are in their homes, and how do you pass that particular business on to another person? I mean, those are some of the issues that have been talked about since the beginning of this, and I think there's some really good ideas when it comes to specific ways to address that. So, we've talked again and again, and there are some communities throughout the district that have had issues with. We talked about putting a daycare center in there, and then there's like 20 home-based providers are like, whoa. We don't have the children there to support that kind of, or school-based. Well, you're going to put 6 businesses out of business if you do that. So there are some significant concerns. I have seen some promising movement, both with money and policy, though. So I don't know if that was an answer. I think I kind of just complicated it.
Okay. And just to piggyback on that, I don't think that we can discount for one moment the fact that for a lot of folks, it's an economic struggle to be able to afford childcare in the first place. With a budget surplus of this size, I would hope that there's some movement towards helping supporting Minnesota families who need childcare on that end of it. At least give them some sort of hand to be able to get back into the workforce.
And Mr. Chair, I appreciate that too. And Commissioner Gardner, I think the biggest issue that we struggle with in St. Paul then is if we were to help them today with one-time money that we do have, what do we do in 4 years or 5 years? Mm-hmm. So that is our biggest dilemma. We don't want to hamstring future generations because of this kind of a thing. We also have to have more people in the daycare working. And right now they can't find them. They can't pay them enough. They can't, like every employer out there, so we have to make sure we look at our employment rules and policy for employers so that we don't make it so difficult for them to hire or to retain or to keep them. So again, it's all intertwined, but you are absolutely right. We have an issue with childcare. We are opening some new areas of this in this area. We're lucky. The new expansion in Spicer. We also have a new center that hasn't even really got open over on the west end of town because of staffing issues and other things. Mm-hmm. So we have an opportunity to do more. And and we've got to provide that support for those providers. So I really appreciate that. We'll work on that. Yeah.
Appreciate your work on this.
Thank you, Commissioner Gardner. Commissioner Nissen, you want to speak? I believe because.
Yeah. I do. I want to,
And then Mel. Okay.
I just wanted to talk briefly about an issue we're having. We just joined Prime West, which is a county-based purchasing organization that does a great job. And yet we're having a little trouble with when we get to the procurement part of it, because DHS has got some powerful people apparently inside that want to award to the big providers out of the health, in United Health and Blue Cross Blue Shield and the rest. I don't know if the law needs strengthening. I don't think it does. It's pretty clear, but maybe it needs to be explained to the folks up at DHS that we have a right to do what we're proposing, and they try to force at least one other. They'll try to pair us up or split us up, and county-based procurement is so important to our success at Prime West, and if we have to split the customer base, that just makes it impossible to work. And Prime West has got a tremendous record of not only paying the bills, but paying more to the providers than some of the big fellows do. And I shouldn't say big fellows, but they are. So we are able to get, for example, Prime West has paid more to the dentists that will not take, and I'm sorry, they will not take Medicaid patients because of the low payback from the big organizations. Prime West pays a little bit better to those, and we've managed to maybe get a dentist here and there because of that. And so I don't have the answer, but I think it's something you need to really encourage those at DHS to look at the law, first of all, because it's pretty clear. We can select, if I'm speaking correctly, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, we can select one provider.
Under the law.
We do not have to go along with their suggestion. But we've run into that last year. Now procurement is still up in the air, and we haven't even officially joined Prime West yet because of the delays.
And Commissioner Nissen, I'd like to pile on that as well. We've been waiting a long time for this to happen.
Yeah.
We're planning, and things are backing up. I'm the Southern Prairie Community Care Committee, and we're trying to close that down, but pending upon this and upon that, and it's getting dragged out. But briefly, Administrator Kleindahl, can you add?
Yep, just to add, as Representative Baker was at the public hearing back in 2020, and so at that time, DHS was going to make a decision within 6 months. Well, what they did is they pushed the rural areas behind. They took the metros and did the metro procurement. We won't find out whether we're able to do this until the end of 2022, early 23. Again, handcuffs us. And you were at the hearing. I appreciate all your support there. You did an excellent job. I think you've been a great advocate. I just want to make sure you keep it on your radar.
Thank you.
And to that point, that is a problem with a agency. They have the authority. They're choosing to drag their feet. They can complain all they want about people aren't in the office and they're COVID bound or whatever it is. But so many things are getting delayed, and that one agency alone has really been a problem for us in a lot of other areas. So I'm shocked to know that it has even been further delayed, Larry, so thanks for that update. And there's no excuse for that. I'd like to make sure I have that call with the commissioner of DHS soon to make sure this is moving forward and their legislative directors. So appreciate that update on that.
That would be very helpful. At this point, then, I will move on to another topic. We can always come back to it after we try to hit as many topics as we can. I call on Kandui County Engineer, Mr. Mel Odens.
Sure, thanks. Thanks for your support for everything. And I did pimp you before we started that I might ask you about this bonding bill, this grade separation. The reason that I just want to remind you why it's important. Number one, the railroad is going to be done this year. And so the whole purpose of the Wilmer Y was to to direct more trains to go on the Marshall Line, which is south. If you've driven it, you know it's a hairpin turn down there for heavy commercial. So it's going to be more important than ever to get this grade separation built. And to that effect, the bonding year is important. Number two, the other thing that I don't want it to be a distraction to you folks is there's a lot of discussion on the federal bill right now. And Commissioner Emdek and I went to a listening session a week or two ago. I don't remember when it was. And we had the 9 programs testify on how they would maybe spend it or whatever. But the thing that we got to remember for us locally as a county or a city in this area is it's all competitive money. And the amount of federal money, when I digest this whole thing on my spreadsheet, we'll be lucky to get $1 million in this district for 19 local agencies. So there's a lot of distraction with federal money, and I think we need to really focus on what we can do in the state. And we do have some opportunities. So thank you.
Yeah, no, you're correct. And I would maybe try to reassure you a little bit by saying that, Senator Scott Newman, the chair of the Transportation Committee in the Senate, has kept those 2 buckets separate. I mean, he truly has. His bonding bill, as far as transportation concerns, has been the same, more or less, project-wise, that we've been talking about for a couple of years, more or less, with the exception of possibly the J-turn stuff that in New London that we're still working through.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, well done. Any other comments or questions? Maybe I can put my 2 cents in too for Prairie Lakes Youth Program. And I want to thank you both for all you've been doing it and still in there fighting for making that a good place to place these kids. They need that kind of treatment. They need that kind of placement. And right now, just for an update, Representative Baker, Holly Booth is meeting with this moment, actually, with you're probably aware of that. Okay, to get you the information, you need to proceed on that. That looks like a lot on your plate, and is it even possible that we could get an extended bonding bill on this, and how much would it be? And then we have to, as a board, decide what is our share going to be, because we struggle with the current amount. But I appreciate you working on that, and I feel there is a momentum. I feel we want to stay positive about it. It's something that needs to be done, because we're getting dinged because we don't have a gym, but we also need beds and meeting rooms and places like that too. And the costs keep going up, and that's a lot to put together in a very short time. But I appreciate you working on that and see what we can accomplish. So, Commissioners, any other information you wish to bring up at this point, or questions you wish to ask them? Anybody from the audience? Just
Don't let them off so easy.
yeah, I mean, okay, we can go back to broadband now and childcare. And
Could I just say one thing?
Commissioner Anderson, please proceed.
Thank you guys for taking
Sorry.
the time to come here too today. It's appreciated that you guys are busy, as a lot of politicians are, but you took the time to come to visit us and hear our concerns. So.
You said you came here to listen, and you've been known to be good listeners.
Well, the other
Thank
thing I
you.
want to make sure too is that I appreciate what you're doing. I really also have an appreciation for what the counties are doing locally with public health, and the need that we need to help them again through my conversations through the Attorney General's office with Larry. And the national opioid settlement is so much bigger than just that. We rely on our counties for everything. It's public safety. It's public health, it's education, it's transportation. There's so many things. And the rubber starts with you folks. And so I just want to say thank you too. We really know that we need to listen to you more than anything. So thank you so much for your service. And we're here to help you in any way that we can. Thank you. So
We'll be seeing you.
I'm going to back up just for a split second. I would say with the Joint Powers Board and Prairie Lakes is continue to work that process, get it to us, and faster is better on that one?
We'll try. Yeah, I know. They're all tied up with COVID and all that other issues as well, and some changes.
The extension, I think that's more of a procedural move to get the extension on. I really would like to know what the dollar value looks like. So.
Oh, yeah. I think we can't really go ahead without that. I feel that way. Thank you.
Yeah. No, again, thanks for the invite. As always, My cell phone's on me, so.
One,
So
Administrator Kleindall.
So just so the public is watching, Representative Miller sends his regrets. He was invited. He was not able to attend today. So it's not that he didn't want to attend it, he just was unable at this time. So just want to give a shout out to Representative Miller as well for all the work he has done for Kandui County.
Happy New Year.
Thank you.
You bet, thank
Gentlemen,
you,
thank
and
you so
we'll be
much.
seeing you soon, and we're seeing a legislative thing
Thank
for
you.
AMC too. Thank you. Bye now. Okay, let's take one more agenda item, and then maybe take a break.
If you want to do Mel, are you here for Gary?
Yeah, he's here for Gary.
Okay, didn't come on.
Well, Mel does have more,
Yeah, Gary's got one.
yeah, he's got the one. Why don't we take Mr. Van Dyken, and you are here to talk about Resolution 2022-3.
Yes, thank you,
Correct.
Mr. Chair, members
Good
of the
morning,
board.
yes.
Before you today is a resolution 2022-3, the effect of which is to authorize the county to apply for additional low-interest loan funds for the upgrade of sewage treatment systems within the county. This has been a longstanding program in the county that we have been able to take part in. We appreciate the commissioners' continued support of it. This most recent application will be again for the maximum that we can request, which is $1 million. And then as we use it, like we did on our last round, we have opportunities to add additional funds to that, even within a 3-year loan agreement. So we have, through the years, run 6 million or more through that, and it's a really big help to people at the local level, people that find themselves in a tough position, often, especially as the price of sewage treatment systems has been creeping up significantly over the years. So appreciate your support for this program.
Okay, Commissioner Nissen.
I will move Resolution 2022-3.
Got a motion to move by Commissioner Nissen. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Go ahead.
Second by Commissioner Gardner. Any further discussion or comments? Commissioner Emdack?
One quick question. What is the interest rate to the homeowner that uses this loan opportunity?
Currently, we are at 1% interest.
That's
You got a question?
Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Eric, a very quick question. Is this something that you bring to us each and every year?
No, these are a 3-year loan agreement, and we have ability to add or request additional year to it. So the last round, we went 4 years, 3 years, and we added one on. But they do come up pretty much every 3 years. A number of years ago, we used to come more frequently because we had to run these through individual watersheds. The state changed the program to simplify and allow us to go for our whole geographic, or our whole political subdivision. And so now we do one county-wide every 3 years or so.
So this is $1 million for that entire 3-year term?
That is correct, although we'll likely use it up before then, and we'll probably come back with a loan, an amendment request at some point to ask for more funds, but we can only ask for $1 million in our application.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? If not, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mel's got a bunch now.
And why don't we take you had a whole bunch, so why don't we take a recess now for 5 minutes? Okay.
Hang on, buddy.
I hereby call the Kandui County Board of Commissioners back in session. At this point, I'd like to call on Public Works Director Mel Odens.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, thank you. The first item that I've got here is a final payment notice to the city of Lake Lillian. There's no action needed on this, but what we do is we kind of give you an awareness that our recommendation is to accept this project and authorize the final payment to the city. You might recall we did a co-op agreement with the city of Lake Lillian to expend our funds in a lump sum. And so they manage the project through a consultant. The project is complete and we reviewed it. And so this final payment in the amount of $113,654.19 was actually in your bills or will be in your bills. So I just wanted to make you aware that we consider the Lake Lillian project complete. We will be putting on another 1.5 inches this summer through town though, Commissioner.
Okay.
So that was kind of an informational one.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, Mel? Please
Don't have to
proceed.
take any action.
No.
Okay.
No. The next one is a final payment. This is the Prinsburg. This will require action as we would also accept this project. This was County Road 1 through Prinsburg. Dunning Incorporated was the was the contractor and for $1,374,000 project, and the project went good. We'll be putting another 1.5 inches on this summer as well. But for this project is our recommendation to accept the project and authorize final payment. It's basically the final payment's the retainage, the 1% retainage.
Any questions or comments? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion.
I will make that motion and we pay that.
Motion by Commissioner Nissen. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Commissioner Anderson seconds that motion. Any further discussion or comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously. Thank you.
And then the third thing I've got is the bridge bonding resolution. We do this every year. We do this as a requirement to get bridge bonding funds, which we just had Lang and Baker here to kind of encourage them to pass these bonding bills when it's the bonding season. And so this is our bridge resolution that's requirement to receive those bridge funds. If you look, there's two things. You can see the list of bridges that met the criteria for replacement. And then also in your packet is a map of where they are. And so this resolution basically is looking to secure a little over $1 million in outside funds, which in this case would be bridge bonding. So it's my recommendation to authorize, to pass the resolution 22-4 and authorize the chair and auditor to sign on behalf of the county.
So move, Mr. Chair.
A motion by Commissioner Emdek. Do I have a second for that motion?
I'll second.
A second by Commissioner Gardner. Any further discussion or comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously. Thank you.
Do you have a signature for that one? With the correct one?
I'll get it down.
Okay, thank you.
And now I'd like to call upon Sheriff Oline. Good morning.
Good morning, Sheriff.
Got two items for the county board this morning. First one that we'll deal with and discuss is the contract for the public safety answering point, which would be the dispatch center for Big Stone County. Big Stone County does wish to renew its contract with us. What we did on the service fees for that, it was a 2% increase for 2022 and then an additional 2% for 2023. So for 2022, their services, which would be answering the 911 calls and emergency radio communications, would be $143,564. And then in 2023, that would increase to $146,436. I also spoke with IT due to the fact that we also take care of the in-squad computer systems for them and the LETG side of things. We increased the rate at a 2% for each year for 2022 for any of the work that they have to do for them, and that would be a $65.24 in 2022. 2023, that would then increase to $66.55 per hour of work. The mobile computers themselves has stayed the same price, as it sounds it did not change for that purposes. So As far as the administrative side of things, any calls that come into the sheriff's office in Big Stone, our dispatch center will handle those when they do not have staff on. So there is the additional fees that we charge for that service in and of itself, okay? Any questions in reference to that contract?
Hearing no questions, I'll entertain a motion. A motion by Commissioner Nissen
Yes.
and a second by
I'll second that.
Commissioner Anderson. Any further questions or comments? If not, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Passed unanimously. Thank you. Please proceed.
The second part is going to be a number of city contracts who wish to agree to the law enforcement services that we do provide to them. Any city that is an incorporated city, when we look at enforcement of laws, and especially for law enforcement, there's certain things that we are required as a sheriff's office to provide an unincorporated city that we don't have to provide for an incorporated city. So a lot of these cities choose to do law enforcement agreement services primarily for the enforcement of the ordinances. So then that way we have an arm in which we can enforce on some of those. The Atwater contract did not come back in time for the board meeting, but I will submit that for the next one. When we look at Lake Lillian, they're looking to do 3 hours of service per week. Spicer is going to be doing 20 hours per week. Raymond, Pennock, and New London will be doing 10 hours per week. What we're charging for an hourly rate on that right now is $43.02 going forward from January 2022 to December 31, 2023. So it is a 4% increase for the fees of their services that we will be providing them. If there's any questions on that, I'll take those now.
My question is with the motion without, you didn't receive the information from Atwater yet?
Atwater, no. So it's
So the
Lake
motion
Lillian,
would-
Spicer, Raymond, Pennock, and New London.
So they wouldn't be included in the motion then?
Not Atwater, no.
Oh, okay.
Move on resolution 2022-5, I think it is.
Okay.
No, wait, no.
It's just an agreement for law.
Just
Agreement.
Agreement.
Yep.
I had clicked one ahead,
With
sorry.
with the exception of Atwater, okay.
Yep.
And a second from
I'll
Commissioner Gardner. Any further discussion or comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously.
No, Mr. Chair, there's going to be a couple signatures, Mark and you as well on these. I'll just leave these with you. Can you just inter-office them to me?
Sure, please. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric.
Yep. Thank you very much. And now, the next agenda item is resolution number 2022, and our Human Resource Director. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, it's been a year. And
You sound happy.
yes, I am. We received notification from the Department of Health and Human Services that we are effectively dismissed from the merit system. We have met all of the requirements that we needed to be able to effectively have our own personnel selection process. And the resolution that you had approved prior for me in establishing that personnel directive was approved by the Department of Health and Human Services, and we received that letter dated December 30th of 2021. I did receive on the 23rd of December, late in the day, I received an email from Merit Systems saying that we were done.
Okay, thank you.
So,
I just had a question. This seems to me very timely in the sense that with the workforce nowadays and with all the rules and requirements and the steps to go through to hire people under the merit system, we have a lot more flexibility and yet could actually maybe even do a better job.
correct. I feel that we have got a very good system in place. We have a system of points that we evaluate our applications from, and we're able to determine, which applicants would be able to interview for those positions and be qualified for those positions. And we've gotten some very good quality candidates that way for the remainder of our personnel staff that we've hired outside of the merit system that didn't fall underneath that in the Human Services Division. So that being said, I've also contracted with NeoGov. It's a software company that will allow us to accept online applications, and that has also gone live within the last couple of weeks. We continue to work with our implementation team, and we do that via Zoom, and we've put that together. So I'm pretty excited that if upon the approval of the posting from Mr. Kleindahl, we will go live with our first posting for a facility maintenance worker this afternoon. So that will be a big deal for me.
Whoa.
So a couple of things that were on my bucket list was exiting the merit system and then getting online application and having that live. So big day for me.
Big deal.
All right.
A lot of changes, but good changes, yes.
Thank you,
yes.
thank you.
And-
And in regards to that, the final thing that we need to do is have a resolution passed, and that resolution is 2022-5, establishment of a merit system of personnel administration, which is what we were just talking about and has been established. And be it resolved that Kandui, Ohio County is in substantial compliance with the federal standards and has effectively created this personnel administration. So that's the last thing that we need to do, so I'll need to have your signatures on that and a passage of that resolution.
Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would move on Resolution 2022-5.
We have a motion to.
I'll second that.
By Commissioner Gardner and a second by Commissioner Anderson. Any further discussion? Here, Commissioner Anderson, or Commissioner Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Connie, just to say thank you, and thank you, everybody, for all of the work that you've done on this. I think post-pandemic, having that additional flexibility to hire well and hire quickly is going to be a boon to the county. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Did I call for the vote?
I got a call.
Yeah, I got to call for the vote. Sorry. I've been calling for a lot of votes, but okay. We have a motion and a second. At this point, no further discussion. I take it, and I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously. Thank you very much. Good job. Thank you. Okay. Now I would like to call on Tom Odens, please. Good morning again, Tom.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the board. I'm here today for an application from David Zimke, who is doing business as Wilmer Trading Post for a pawnbroker application for the calendar year of 2022. He did submit an application as well as the required bond. The county sheriff was able to go through the application and sign off on it. So now what I would need from the board is to also pass a motion for this license for 2022.
I'll make that.
A motion by Commissioner Nissen, a second
I'll second it.
by Commissioner Anderson. Any further discussion or comments? This is pretty much an annual thing, right?
That's
That we're
correct.
coming up to, yep. Here, no further discussion. I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passed unanimously. Thank you very much for bringing that forward. Next, I'd like to call on Kandui County Attorney, Mr. Shane Baker.
Unlike the sheriff's, this is a request for agreement to provide legal services for some of the cities in the county. It operates different than what you heard from the sheriff. Ours is based on population of the city. There are certain cities, if they're below 600, then the county attorney's office provides the prosecution services for them. If they're above 600, then they need to contract out. There are 5 cities in Kandui County that fit that bill. We have the contracts for 3 of them, Raymond, New London, and Spicer. And there are no changes. This is an annual thing, and there are no changes from last year. Rate is $127.50 per hour.
Mr. Chair, I would move on the agreement.
Just for clarification, we can make one motion for all the agreements?
Yes.
Yes, okay. A motion by Commissioner Endek, a second by Commissioner Gardner. Any further discussion?
Just to clarify, this comes to us annually?
Yes.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Hearing no further discussion, I'll call for the vote, the question. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously. Thank you very much. We are moving through this agenda very well, and I would like to actually, before we move on, to thank the Board of Commissioners for all your work and help to get through our reorganizations as smooth as we did. I won't say it's totally smooth, but it was pretty good stuff working together here with all of you. So I appreciate that very much, and you did a great job. I would like to call on Administrator Kleindahl for administrative updates.
Mr. Chair, one major update that's going to have an impact on us is the OSHA passing, the requirements for vaccination and mask mandates for unvaccinated people. So, County Attorney and myself have been watching this from a federal level. Currently, the rules are in place where the timelines and stuff where we have to start acting and collecting data for the OSHA requirements. On January 7th, the Supreme Court will be hearing this matter. We don't know how soon they'll make a decision on that, but until a decision is made, the rules are in place and requirements for OSHA. Right now, we have to start collecting data by January 3rd of who's been vaccinated and not vaccinated. By January 10th, we're supposed to have a detailed list of our proposed policies and stuff in place. We have drafts in place. We have not have that policy ready to come before you just because everything's so great. I mean, they're passing some of these requirements. There was different circuit courts that had delayed it, and then one court overruled another court, and of course then it was in place, and now the Supreme Court said they're going to hear it on January 7th. But right now it looks like because we have over 100 employees, we will have to follow that mandate or face penalty. And so been working with the Human Resources Director and the staff. We also had a meeting with Association of Minnesota Counties yesterday about how the 87 counties are dealing with this. We'll have to decide several things like how are we going to handle testing for non-vaccinated people? How are we going to handle the requirements for mask mandates for unvaccinated people? Do we pay for the vaccinations or not pay for vaccinations for untested people? And then what happens if employees refuse to do that? A lot of discussion yesterday had several conversations about the discipline process and then the termination process. We're not ready for that discussion yet. We're still having that conversation, but I think this is going to have a major impact on us if we are going to have to go forward with this. I want our employees to understand this is not a rule that the county commissioners are making or the administration is making. This is a federal law which the state of Minnesota has also passed under their OSHA requirements, saying these are the mandated you must follow. It's not say you may follow, you must follow. And so the criteria about being vaccinated or not vaccinated, the criteria about testing weekly if you're not vaccinated, how do we track that testing? What software will we need to have to purchase? How do we make sure that non-vaccinated people are being masked, and how do we enforce that? And so this week, the last 2 days, we spent a lot of time on this. I did send out an email to all of our employees on November 5th when this first passed, saying this could be coming down the pipe. Please be aware of it. So our employees have had a month and a half, almost 2 months of notice. Again, I think we're all waiting to see what was going to happen. But in the next week or so, I think that information will be clear one way or another. Until that point, we have no choice but to continue to make reasonable efforts to follow the guidelines that are set forth by not only the federal OSHA, but Minnesota OSHA as well. So I will be in contact for sure with the chair and the vice chair. be working with our employees, our department heads. Of course, the county attorney's office and I will be working close together. So some of the things we will be looking at is as we hire new employees, do we make it mandatory that they be vaccinated? Again, hopefully AMC can help come up with the guidelines, so there's not 87 different ways of addressing this. But this is a major update, and I encourage you, please watch the news. You'll probably be hearing information as soon as I do. All my information will be through the media, for the most part, and so we'll be watching that. Is there any questions about the OSHA?
I just have a question, I
One
guess
second,
you,
yes. I thought no, you had nothing. Please proceed.
did you say this was a law? It's a declaration, isn't it?
The OSHA has
It's a
right for worker safety. They can set criteria.
Emergency temporary standard.
Yep. And so,
The Supreme Court's dealing with this, and we'll see what happens.
so on November 5th, the Occupational Safety Health and Human Health Administration issued an emergency temporary standard that mandates employers with 100 or more employees to require employees to receive a COVID-19 vaccination or be subject to weekly testing and masking and
Okay, I do want to clarify, because you did say a law before, and this is a specific declaration.
Sure. If we're like any OSHA violation, they could fine us if we are not in compliance.
Yeah, I understand that, because we went through this at West Central Industries also.
Okay.
I have no further comment, except it's still up in the air because of the Supreme Court is going to hear it.
Correct, on January 7th, but until that time, there's not an injunction to stop the timelines right now. So we have timelines of January 3rd, we have to collect the data. By January 10th, we have to start showing reasonable efforts may be made. They said there will not be any fines from January 10th to February 9th if we're making reasonable efforts. On February 9th, if this is going through, technically, we need to have our policies in place, and people need to be vaccinated or being tested by February 9th.
So I would like to add, Administrator Kleindahl, that this will definitely be on our next agenda as well, as probably the agenda after that, because this way it looks that we would have a hard time and even struggle being compliant.
Yes, Mr. Chair, excuse me, this might be something we end up having an emergency work session for. It all will come down to it, and again, my office, along with the county attorney's office, HR, will be working on this, making sure we have our stuff in a row.
Any other questions of Mr. Kleindahl? Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Please
you.
proceed.
And end of this month, I'm going to be attending a general mediation training through AMC. I'm putting an application in. Hopefully, I get in, and that would be from January 26th until January 29th. So if I do that, I would be out of the office.
Okay. January 26th.
That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Also, Commissioners, do you have any additional appointments? I guess we dealt mainly with that. Any information for our calendars that we need to share? And if not, I will move into committee reports. I have a hunch they're going to be pretty short with the holidays in there. Commissioner Gardner, would you proceed, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I really don't have anything to report in the way of past committee action, like you say, being the holidays and all. We'll have plenty coming up, of course, starting tomorrow, actually. So we'll talk about that at our next meeting. I did want to just bring up very briefly again the consent agenda idea that Larry is floating to us here. I did have my stopwatch out, and we were probably at 10 minutes of action items that we had folks come in here and present to us, and taking their time on a couple of these things. I do want to be clear that the types of things that we would be talking about under a consent agenda are intended to be routine and non-controversial. So, for example, things like minutes, things like potentially the final payment and acceptance could be part of an agenda. Anything that is a resolution would not be part of a consent agenda. That's something that we would need to take a more formal action on. I just think it's a little better use of our time, and frankly that of folks who would otherwise have to come up here before us to explain what it is that we're doing. If we have questions, we can certainly route those questions through either Mr. Kleindl or with a quick email to a department head if appropriate to get clarification on a matter. And again, we would always have the opportunity and in fact the obligation, if you have a question, to pull that from the consent agenda and get your questions asked and answered here at the meeting. I don't believe this is in any way intended to throw any type of shade over what it is that we're doing. We're just simply expediting a process that, quite frankly, most boards and commissions, councils operate with a consent agenda these days. So as we get further into that discussion, I hope that we will take that seriously. We can, if nothing else, we can at least try on that pair of shoes and see if they fit.
Okay, and we're going to put that on the agenda for our next meeting. Commissioner Nissen.
I had several meetings that were canceled because of weather and the Christmas holidays, so I really have no report there. I would just comment on consent agenda in a different light. If it's 10 minutes is all we took, doesn't that give a transparency that we want our voters to see, that we're transparent? If it's a lengthy thing and drags on too long, I've been here 7 years. We've never gone past lunchtime very far in all those. So I would say consent agenda seem like a good idea, but it does, even though it doesn't cast a shadow, it does, having those reports does lend a air of transparency to our meetings. And so that's my 2 cents worth. And
looks like we'll have some good discussion then.
Yeah, I just
thank you, Commissioner Nissen. Okay, Commissioner Anderson, anything you wish to share?
Yeah, I just had one meeting over this time because I suppose Christmas and New Year's, but it was a drug-free communities coalition meeting that we had, and it was pretty much just a regular board meeting. That was it.
Okay. Commissioner Edc.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would just report on via the EDC Broadband Committee yesterday, and as you could probably tell from the conversation with the legislators today, that we had a lot to talk about yesterday and had a lot to bring forth to today's meeting as well. But there's a lot going on there right now, and that's a very, very active committee at this point. Everybody's got their sleeves rolled up and trying to do what we can to get the broadband spread across the county to as many people as we can with the dollars we have.
Okay, thank you. I'll go last. A couple of things. I did have one meeting, wasn't an official meeting with one of the group homes, and it went very well. And it was more of a Christmas thing, a party. I do want to add 2 things. First off, a reminder, you all received your information about doing your annual campaign reports, that we don't want to forget to get that in. And that's going to be in by, what, end of February or something? We got a little bit of time, but we just got it, and I figured I would remind everybody about that. I also received a thank you card from Linda Flanders, a commissioner, I believe. She's from Red Wing, Minnesota, and she was the winner from our conference for the Kandui County basket of goodies that we had there as part of the drawing. And I don't know if we ever gotten thank yous before, but it was very nice of her to do that. So is there anything else at this point?
Just so you know, I've been going to AMC for over 25 years. I've never won once.
Well,
But you're not bitter.
When you weren't there, your name was.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
okay. Well, hearing nothing else, I hereby adjourn the Kandui County Board of Commissioners meeting. All right.
Thank you.
Okay.